the Interstellar Mecha cook. Welcome back, brave explorers of impossible worlds. We are excited to have you here to continue this odyssey together. Before we continue, everything you'll hear is pure fiction, so please don't try to replicate combat techniques at home. This wonderful story in all its rights belong to its brilliant original author. We are only the messengers of entertainment. Want another dose of adventure? Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single chapter, and if you can't wait, our Patreon has exclusive surprises you'll love. Chapter 601 Kair is leaving. Why did you think of adding a snack out of the blue? Yi Hongwen frowned as he looked at the long line. The training was tiring enough, and they should have rested early. But she came to the kitchen to cook a midnight snack, which made him feel distressed. Lin Miaomiao wanted to hide it for Liu Kair, but as the captain of Shenyu, he could tell the reason as long as he paid attention, so he said without hesitation, Kair has been exhausted recently and wants to add a snack. Yi Hongwen looked at Liu Kair in the middle of the line with displeasure. She was the one who instigated this. Should he think of a way to retaliate? Liu Kair, who was staring at the front, couldn't help but sneeze. She was a little puzzled. It wasn't cold that day, so why did she feel cold all over? Don't look at me. I'm not punishing her, Lin Miaomiao said with a little smile. For a foodie, beating and scolding are not considered punishment, but others have already had their midnight snacks, and she still has to wait for a long time. This feeling of being anxious is too uncomfortable. What kind of punishment is this? Yi Hongwen said, unsatisfied. She might as well have run an extra 10 or 8 laps in the morning. Lin Miaomiao broke into cold sweat. They'd already added 5 laps to their morning run. 10 more and Kair probably wouldn't even have breakfast. Thankfully, Yi Hongwen was just talking and didn't actually follow through with the next morning run, which made Lin Miaomiao feel relieved for her friend. Of course, she was also a little puzzled. Yi Hongwen wasn't a soft-hearted person, and he'd also resort to petty acts of personal gain. Why had he so easily let Kair off the hook this time? Could he have just forgotten about everything? This thought lingered in her mind for less than an hour before dissipating. The fleet summoned everyone to the conference room again, supposedly for an important announcement. I wonder what the news is? Are the new recruits just arriving, and us veterans have to go on another mission? Or is it that the traitor we caught last time has already been dealt with? I wonder what Zingayan is doing now? He's so foolish, Yuzixin muttered, speculating on the meeting's content. It's his own choice, Feng Licken said disapprovingly. He's not stupid, he's just too naive. He always thinks that whatever he wants will come true. Lin Miaomiao glanced sideways at Liu Kair, quite surprised by her silence today. Not only did she not join in the conversation, but her face looked grim, as if something was upsetting her. What's wrong with Kair? Zhu Chen also found it a bit strange. Yet, Yuzixin ran back from the front and approached the unusually silent person. Kair is so quiet today. Is she trying to learn to be a lady? It's too late. Yuzixin ran away with a giggle, fearing a beating. However, this time Liu Kair didn't react at all, only pouting and sulking. Hey, what's going on? Yuzixin was puzzled. Not only him, but Lin Miaomiao and the others also felt that something was wrong. Stingy Kair was ridiculed and didn't even want to retaliate. Did the sun rise from the west today? Kair, Feng Licken pulled her back worriedly and asked, what's wrong with you? It's okay. Liu Kair looked at the ground listlessly. I just don't know what to choose. What to choose? Everyone asked in unison. Liu Kair sighed. Actually, there's no choice. They just notified me to leave Shenyu with Deputy Captain Gu. Leave? Everyone looked at each other, wondering what was going on. Why did they have to leave when everything was fine? Wasn't it good to be here? Why do you want to leave? Lin Miaomiao frowned. Didn't we agree to stay in Shenyu together and retire together when we were too old to pilot mechas? Yuzixin asked excitedly. Kair, do you want to break our oath? No. Liu Kair's eyes were filled with tears. She bit her lip and looked at her friends who were waiting for an answer one by one. I didn't want to either, but just now after I finished my meal and returned to the dormitory, Gu Qingheng sent me a video message saying that he had been transferred and asked me to be mentally prepared. What does his transfer have to do with you? Yuzixin looked at her suspiciously. When did Kair and the deputy captain have an affair? If the deputy captain was leaving, would he take her with him? Zhu Chen stared up at the sky in silence. Zin, have you forgotten something? Although Kair rarely accompanies Vice Captain Gu, She's already his adjutant. An adjutant isn't like a captain. As long as Liu Kanya remained Gu Qingheng's adjutant, she had to follow wherever her commander was transferred, with no autonomy at all, unless the commander deemed her unfit for the job and replaced her. That would give Kanya freedom, but she would be looked down upon, no more than an ordinary soldier in the fleet. Everyone was torn by this realization. Lin Miaomiao was the most upset. Kanya was her friend, and so was Gu Qingheng. How could she possibly be happy to have both of them transferred at once? I see. No wonder. Lin Miaomiao recalled Yi Hongwen's strange reaction. He'd said he'd punish Kanya by making her run 10 more laps, but he'd refrained from doing so. Perhaps he'd spared her this time because Kanya was leaving. Where is Lieutenant Captain Gu being transferred? Why is he moving base when everything's fine? Isn't he good enough in Shenyu? Feng Licken asked. I heard he's being transferred to the White Tiger Regiment. Sounds like he's getting a promotion, Liu Kaoyer said, also confused. Can a 5th rank mecha master become captain? I remember you had to be 6th rank. She'd been so surprised by the news of the transfer that she hadn't even noticed. I heard a piece of news, I don't know if it's true or not, Yu Zixin said hesitantly. After the number 2 ship set off to pick up the new recruits, didn't the deputy captain take a day off? It is said that he was going to take the level 6 exam. Ah, so fast. Liu Kaoyer's eyes widened instantly. He is not yet 40 years old. Lin Miaomiao nodded. Yes, he seems to be 37 or 38. He has reached level 6 at such a young age. No wonder he was promoted to captain. After sighing, she added, but not as good as Yi Bingshan. Liu Kaoyer, who was feeling sad, choked. It's already this time, and you haven't forgotten to praise your boyfriend. Are you still good sisters? Lin Miaomiao blinked innocently. In fact, she didn't want to praise him, but this was a fact. When mentioning young level 6 mecha masters, hers could not be ignored. She had no choice. Well, that's enough. Feng Licken cleared her throat and changed the subject. Kaoyer, you haven't told me which fleet of the White Tiger Corps you are going to. It's Toyoshi. It's so far from here. Liu Kaoyer pouted. I'm so annoyed. If I had known, I would have resolutely refused to be an assistant manager. I thought Gu Qingheng would stay in Shenyu forever. Aoshi. Lin Miaomiao opened her mouth wide. She should have thought of it earlier. She had just attended Captain Luo's farewell ceremony some time ago. Now Li Aoshi is lacking a captain. Chapter 602, The Unkind Gu Qingheng. Can I not go? Yu Zixin was reluctant. What will I do if you leave? They had known each other since they were at the Maryland 2nd Military Academy and had become close friends. However, Ashen, Licken, and Miaomiao were all relatively quiet, while Kaoyer was the only one who was lively and cheerful, similar to him. He would definitely feel lonely when Kaoyer left, without someone to play with and have fun with. I don't want to leave either, but I can't, Liu Kaoyer sighed. The captain said that military orders are as heavy as a mountain. Once you choose to be a soldier, you must obey them and cannot violate them for personal reasons. Why is that? Yu Zixin was unwilling to accept this outcome, but he knew that at this point, things were no longer something they could change just because they didn't want to. Military orders were as heavy as a mountain. As a soldier, you couldn't ignore the orders of your superiors, let alone oppose the military's transfer orders. Is today's meeting just to announce this news? Lin Miaomiao's voice was almost inaudible. Liu Kaoyer nodded. Yes, I'm leaving tomorrow. I should at least tell everyone and say goodbye. It's almost time. Let's hurry to the conference room, Feng Licken said with a forced smile. Kaoyer, this is your last time attending Shenyu's conference. You can't be late. The 5 of them hurried to the large conference room in silence. It was indeed getting late. Everyone except them was already seated. Yi Hongwen and Gu Qingheng stood side by side on the podium. Take a seat. It's about to begin, Gu Qingheng said with a gentle smile. I was afraid you'd be so busy talking that you'd forget the time. After everyone was seated, Yi Hongwen spoke. I called everyone here today because I have an announcement. Vice Captain Gu has been at Shenyu for nearly half a year, and he's leaving tomorrow. The quiet conference room suddenly erupted in laughter. Everyone thought there was something wrong with their ears. Vice Captain Gu was fine here, so why was he suddenly leaving? This has to be a joke, someone muttered to themselves, slapping their forehead. That being said, everyone knew that the captain was not one to joke. The veterans were all unhappy. Lieutenant Captain Gu was a gentle officer. Although he had only been there for a short time, he had helped everyone a lot. When he suddenly said he was leaving, everyone felt very reluctant and at a loss. Compared to the veterans' reluctance, the new recruits, who were more numerous, didn't care. They had just joined the fleet. Although Gu Qingheng was handsome and had a good personality, they had not had much contact with him and would not be reluctant to see him leave. After letting everyone discuss for a while, Gu Qingheng finally spoke. "Everyone, be quiet. I have a few words to say to you." The conference room fell silent again. Everyone looked at the two people on the stage nervously, hoping that they could take back their words. It's a pity that Gu Qingheng didn't think about staying, and his face still had his usual gentle smile. "Actually, this transfer order was not something I applied for myself, but was issued directly to Shen Yu by the military. But I won't refuse, because military orders are like mountains. As long as the military needs me, I will do what they need." He paused here, and then said, "Of course, I am very happy too. No one expected that after today, people will call me Captain Gu. Not Deputy Captain Gu." Everyone was in an uproar. The deputy captain was promoted? This is really a great thing. "Yes, I was promoted," Gu Qingheng said to himself with a smile. "If it weren't for the change of fleet, I'm afraid I would never have the chance to be a captain in my life. Who made the boss younger and more capable than me?" This was the first time Gu Qingheng called Yi Hongwen the boss, but it was also the last time. Yi Hongwen glanced at him indifferently. "Qingheng, why are you so modest? You are now a 6th level mecha master, not much worse than me. How are they the same?" Gu Qingheng smiled and shook his head. "I just advanced, and you have been in the 6th level for several years. If we fight, I will probably suffer a great loss." "That's not necessarily true." Yi Hongwen spit out 4 words, and then he didn't say anything else. Gu Qingheng didn't care and continued to say to the people in the audience, "I think I just said that I am also a captain. I wonder if everyone will be happy for me." "Happy?" everyone shouted at the top of their voices. "Lieutenant Captain Gu is also very powerful, just like the boss." This sentence was not meant to belittle their own captain, but among the 100 official fleets of the Federation, there are only 2 captains under the age of 50. It's not that those who can be captains have to be old, but that if they are not at the 6th level, they will not be able to convince the public. Even if a young person reached rank 6, the military was happy to train them, even if they lacked experience. This early advancement, however, would undoubtedly unlock immense potential. While there were many talented individuals like Lin Miaomiao who reached rank 4 at the age of 20, few reached rank 6 before the age of 40. Therefore, the true geniuses were Yi Hongwen and Gu Qingheng. "I'll also reach rank 6 early," Lin Miaomiao determined, clenching her fists. Gu Qingheng didn't have much to say, simply explaining the fleet he was heading to and offering a few words of congratulations. Finally, he didn't forget to tell everyone, "This trip to Aoshi is actually a swap. After I take over Aoshi in a few days, Aoshi's deputy captain Song and his deputy manager will be here. He's also a very gentle person, I believe you will like him." The veterans, their eyes red, murmured, "No matter how gentle he is, he's still not you." Gu Qingheng blinked, forcing back the dampness. He hadn't been in Shenyu for long, but he felt very relaxed. Everyone followed the rules when they should, but during breaks, they could chat and laugh with him like an ordinary teammate. But no matter how much he liked it here, he couldn't stay. All capable men have ambitions, and even someone as gentle as him was no exception. But with Yi Hongwen here, he didn't want to turn against him over a position. So, when the transfer order came out, although he was a little sad at first, he was happy later, because he was on equal footing with Yi Hongwen again. "Enough, stop crying," Gu Qingheng scolded with a smile, then called out names. "Kair, come up and say goodbye to everyone. You've been in Shenyu longer than I have, so you must have a lot to say." "Oh my god, Kair's leaving too," Yu Hongbo exclaimed in surprise. "Captain Liu, are you really going to let your aunt go?" Everyone was too tired to complain. They had received too many surprises today. Even the new recruits were stunned. It seemed like the transfer one, get one free thing was going on with fleet transfers these days. But on second thought, there wasn't anything wrong with that. Deputy managers always follow their superiors, and Kair had been promoted, from deputy manager to captain. The difference was significant, and the number of suitors would increase exponentially. Inexplicably, everyone felt less sad. Deputy Captain Gu was being unkind. Shenyu was already overcrowded with wolves and meat, and he took one away. Chapter 603. The tea is cold before the guests leave. This meeting was supposed to be sentimental, and it was at first, but it took a different tone later on, with everyone clamoring that the deputy captain had kidnapped their sister. Near the end of the meeting, Yi Hongwen, who was standing next to Gu Qingheng installing the air conditioner, spoke again. Deputy Captain Gu has only been in Shenaiyu for a short time, but he's well liked by everyone. A serious meeting certainly doesn't count as a farewell for him. Let's have a farewell banquet for them in the cafeteria tonight. Great, everyone cheered. All good things must come to an end, and even if you're reluctant to leave, it's no use looking forward to what delicious food will be served tonight. The good news is that Gu Qingheng and Liu Kaoyu are leaving tomorrow, and to ensure everyone has no regrets, everyone in Shenaiyu is on holiday. They can freely connect with Deputy Captain Gu, confess their feelings to Liu Kaoyu, and so on. Of course, that requires the other party to give them the opportunity. After the meeting, Gu Qingheng strode over to Lin Miaomiao and said with a smile, "Miaomiao should be free today, why don't you go on a date with me?" Yi Hongwen chased after her with a sullen look on his face and pulled her into his arms. "She's mine. If you want a date, find someone else, don't be so stingy," Gu Qingheng said jokingly. "I'm leaving tomorrow, and you won't even let me have a moment of remembrance. That must not be given up," Yi Hongwen replied firmly. Sparks flashed in their eyes, and they stared at each other for a while and then fought several times. Lin Miaomiao suddenly felt that she was the unnecessary one. "How about," Lin Miaomiao said weakly, "why don't you two make a date?" A large crowd of onlookers instantly fell silent. Liu Yifei, who is always very courageous, laughed heartily. "So the boss only discovered true love when they were parting, and he's wronged our little cook?" "It's not wronged," Lin Miaomiao replied seriously. "I'm willing to be cannon fodder to make way for true love." "Miaomiao, you're so great," Ren Jiao gave her a thumbs up. "Don't worry, sister-in-law will find you someone better." Yi Hongwen stared at her coldly. "It seems there's something wrong with the Black Lotus. I'll have Xian Hao give it a full overhaul and a fresh coat of paint." Ren Jiao, villain. With one sentence, Yi Hongwen dismissed the gossipers. Taking Lin Miaomiao with him, he strode away, completely disregarding the man who was leaving the next day. "Miaomiao, are you just leaving like this?" Gu Qingheng cried pitifully. Lin Miaomiao turned away helplessly. "Come to the dormitory for lunch at noon, we can have a good time together." Liu Kaoyu's eyes widened. "What about me? I'm leaving too. Why are you in such a hurry?" Lin Miaomiao rolled her eyes at her. "I'll call you later, but I want to order some dishes. Don't push your luck, I know what you want to make." As a stylish cook, how could she give people the opportunity to order dishes so easily? Liu Kaoyu felt aggrieved. "I'm leaving tomorrow, and you won't even fulfill my last wish." "A last wish? Why did it sound so unlucky, as if we'd never see each other again?" Lin Miaomiao complained in her heart, but still nodded reluctantly. "Okay, since you'll be far away from me in the future, I'll allow you to order one dish, valid within 10 minutes, only one dish." Miaomiao was too stingy. Liu Kaoyu was conflicted. She had so many dishes she wanted to eat, could she just have one plate of each? Unfortunately, no matter how much she complained, Lin Miaomiao refused to relent. Liu Kaoyu struggled for a moment, but received no good news. She could only twiddle her thumbs and choose her favorite dish. "Big plate chicken, the kind with more chicken and less potatoes." "Got it," Lin Miaomiao agreed casually, before being impatiently dragged away by Captain Yi. "Boss, that's too much? He even said he was giving us a chance to bond." Liu Kaoyu pouted, looking at Feng Licken. "You're the only one left to bond with me." Feng Licken blinked and smiled softly. "I'm afraid I won't be able to spend the morning with you. Let's talk this afternoon." Liu Kaoyu was shocked. "You won't spend the evening with me at this last moment?" She turned to look at Yu Zixin and his wife. "What about you guys? Kaoyu, go find someone else to play with first. We have things to do too," Zhu Chen said with a gentle smile. "You guys," Liu Kaoyu's face was filled with despair. The tea had gone cold before she even left. These people were too realistic. "Break up, we must break up. They are not good friends at all, it's not a farewell, there's no need to make it so tragic." Yu Zixin was puzzled. What on earth was Kaoyu thinking? Transferring a fleet was like a suicide squad going on a mission. It was really exaggerated. Liu Kaoyu glanced at him gloomily, then lowered her head and dragged her heavy steps out. Her lonely and desolate back made the recruits feel very sympathetic. The world is difficult and people's hearts are not as they used to be. Just because of a transfer order, her good friends abandon her. It was really sad and tearful to hear and see. Yu Zixin rarely felt guilty, and touched his chin uneasily and said, "Isn't it a bit bad for us to do this? What's wrong with it? Didn't I say I would accompany her in the afternoon?" Fang Licken didn't care. "Let's go to Miaomiao and discuss what gift to give her. I guess we can only contact each other through video from now on." With this sentence as a foundation, Yu Zixin felt justified. They needed time to choose gifts for her and the deputy captain, and ignoring her was necessary. After exiting the conference room, Yu Zixin saw many veterans surrounding Liu Gaoyu, chatting and laughing. He felt more at ease. With so many friends around, she shouldn't be sad. The three of them quickened their pace and ran to Lin Miaomiao's dormitory. This was what they had agreed upon when Gaoyu went on stage to speak. Even if they would keep in touch and meet in the future, they should still give each other gifts before leaving. After knocking on the door, Yi Hongwen quickly came to open the door, and then there were three wooden men at the door. "Boss? Boss? Yu Zixin was so shocked that his tongue was hanging open. He couldn't even utter a complete sentence. He could only stare at the small flowers on his apron. At this time, Captain Yi had changed out of his white military uniform and was wearing a black cotton shirt and casual pants. He was wearing an apron with small pink flowers on a blue background. He looked at least 10 years younger. Yi Hongwen asked expressionlessly, "Your tongue was eaten by a cat? You don't know what to say?" No. Yu Zixin came back to his senses. "I'm just too surprised, boss. What are you doing like this? Washing vegetables?" Yi Hongwen threw out two words, turned around and walked towards the kitchen. The three of them turned into wooden men again. The boss actually went to wash the vegetables. It was a miracle that they saw the boss washing vegetables with their own eyes in their lifetime. However, can the boss wash it clean? If there are still clods of dirt and bugs in the vegetables, can the vegetables still be eaten? Although they thought about it, the three did not dare to open their mouths to raise objections. They just pushed each other to the kitchen door and shouted, "Miaomiao, do you need help?" "No, you guys think about what gifts to give first. I'll make them some snacks for the road," Lin Miaomiao replied. Chapter 604, Take Care of Yourselves. Yi Bingshan shamelessly carried the man into the bedroom and gave him a massage. They stayed together for more than half an hour before letting him go. Before he could put his clothes in order, the doorbell rang. Lin Miaomiao glared at the person who was unhurriedly buttoning his clothes, then turned and hid in the bathroom. The doorbell rang about 10 times and then stopped, but Yi Hongwen was in no hurry to open the door. He waited until Lin Miaomiao put his clothes in order, came out of the bathroom and went into the kitchen before walking towards the door. After opening the door, Gu Qinghang appeared in front of them. "It's not even 11 o'clock yet," Yi Hongwen said coldly and went back to the bedroom. He had no sense of entertaining guests at all. Gu Qinghang wanted to swear. This guy must be annoyed that he came too early. He was left waiting at the door for a long time. Did he disturb his good time? Thinking of this, he felt strangely relieved. Unconcerned with the cold reception, he headed straight for the kitchen. "Miaomiao's cooking, right? Do you want some help?" Lin Miaomiao declined without even turning back. "No, it's all ready. Just stir fry and it'll be served. Please take a seat." Liu Gaoyu, Fang Licken, and the others arrived one after another. Lin Xianhao also spontaneously brought his fiancée to eat for free. However, it was Gu Qinghang who answered the doorbell afterward, as that idiot had gone back to his bedroom and never came out. He was clearly a guest, yet ended up being treated like a professional doorman. Gu Qinghang was fascinated by the thought. The dishes that needed steaming had already been in the steamer, and those that needed stewing were already underway. Lin Miaomiao didn't have much to stir-fry, so the dishes were on the table in less than an hour. Liu Gaoyu was initially angry at being treated coldly by her friends and considered skipping lunch, but her foodie nature made her reluctant to give up. Of course, she didn't believe her friends were being so unreasonable. The meal arrived, and everyone sat down around it without ceremony. The small square table had been pulled apart to form a large round one. Lin Miaomiao emerged from the kitchen and took a quick look, sensing something was amiss. "Why are a few people missing? Liu Yifei and the others aren't coming?" Yi Hongwen asked. "I don't think you told them to come." Lin Miaomiao was surprised. "Why do we need to tell them? Don't they usually just come and eat for free?" "Maybe they don't know." Liu Gaoyu smiled. "I'm leaving tomorrow." Yifei's probably rolling around in bed right now. Everyone frowned. "Is it really that exaggerated to be so happy about my aunt leaving?" Liu Gaoyu shrugged. She wasn't exaggerating. From the first day she entered Shenyu, her personal safety had depended on Liu Yifei. Now that he was relieved of such a heavy responsibility, he must be overjoyed. Then let's tell him, so he doesn't cry to me later, Lin Miaomiao said. As Liu Yifei's elder, Liu Kaoyer was also quite worried. He eats too much? I think we should wait until we're done eating before notifying him, Lin Miaomiao frowned. What a kind old man. Finally, Gu Qingheng couldn't stand it anymore and sent a message to the team leaders. The farewell banquet that evening would be a buffet. If they didn't get together at noon, there would be no chance to meet up in the evening. Less than 2 minutes after the text was sent, the doorbell rang frantically. Lin Miaomiao slowly opened the door and saw Liu Yifei standing outside with a face full of resentment. The resentment intensified when he saw the people seated at the table. You're going too far. This obviously wasn't a last-minute arrangement, and you're calling me now, Lin Miaomiao said calmly. You usually come uninvited, so how could I have known you were so uninformed today? Liu Yifei rolled his eyes. Normally, he'd hover around the young cook to check if there were any last-minute requests, but today, he was so overjoyed at the thought of finally getting rid of his older, younger aunt that he hurried back to the dorm to enjoy himself, never once thinking there would be a gathering at noon. Well, it was the farewell dinner that evening that had misled him, making him think good food would only be served at night. Well, let's go in and eat. I didn't eat much this morning, and I'm a little hungry, Liu Yifei swallowed, anxiously scrambling through the gap. Lin Miaomiao's mouth twitched. Fortunately, she wasn't too fat, so she didn't fill the door frame, otherwise the space left wouldn't have been wide enough for anyone to pass through. Since there were still 3 people who hadn't arrived, she left the door open and sat down at the table. Let's eat. Liu Yifei picked up his chopsticks and was about to eat, but was attacked by Yi Hongwen's cold glare. He gently withdrew his hand and said with a flattering smile, Boss, please go first. Don't you see that everyone is not here? Yi Hongwen said coldly. Liu Yifei finally had time to look around at the people sitting there, and beads of sweat instantly formed on his forehead. It seems that there are few missing, Liu idiot. You are the only one. Luo Cheng's voice drifted from the doorway. It was the remaining 3 team leaders who came together. Wen Zixi's face was also not good. He snorted as he entered the door. For the sake of food, Liu idiot even abandoned his brothers and ran away first. Liu Yifei was in the wrong but did not argue. He just chuckled and said, I'm just hungry. Everyone just listened to this statement and no one took it seriously. Even if he had just finished a meal, he would do such a thing. In his eyes, food has a high status. When everyone was present, Lin Miaomiao began to invite everyone to eat. In front of delicious food, words were so pale and powerless, so everyone just focused on eating. After everyone's stomachs were full, Lolly came back from the cafeteria, and Lin Miaomiao asked her to clean up the table, make a cup of coffee for everyone, and bring a few plates of snacks. After eating and drinking, everyone was in the mood to chat. However, what Liu Yifei, who spoke first, said had nothing to do with the 2 people who were about to leave, because he said, Fuck, why is this coffee so bitter? Could it be that there is no sugar? Lin Miaomiao glanced at Lolly, who came out with the sugar cubes, and then turned her gaze to Liu Yifei, her eyes full of contempt. Not only was she so impatient to eat, but she was also so impatient to drink coffee. What a fool. Liu Yifei realized he had made a fool of himself and said awkwardly, Shouldn't coffee and sugar be served together? Why are they served in separate batches? No one paid any attention to the guy who was only concerned with eating and drinking. Lin Miaomiao held out her hand to Feng Licken. Where is the gift? The one Captain Yi and I asked for. Feng Licken placed an emerald jade pendant in her hand. Are you giving it to her now? She planned to give it to her the next day when she saw her off. Yes, Lin Miaomiao nodded. There will be a lot of people tomorrow, so it's better not to be so high profile. That's right, Feng Licken thought, thinking it made sense. She also took out a necklace. The pendant was just a pearl the size of a thumb. The 2 looked at each other and placed the gifts in front of Gu Qingheng and Liu Kaoyer respectively. Feng Licken said, This is a parting gift from Miaomiao, Axon, and Ashen to you. We've known each other for a few years, and now we're going our separate ways. You have to take care of yourself from now on. Lin Miaomiao simply said, This is from Yi Hongwen and I. Take care of yourselves from now on. Chapter 605, A gift that loses your integrity. Although the words of Lin Miaomiao and Feng Licken were simple, they completely destroyed the cheerful atmosphere just now. Yes, everyone knows that there is no banquet that lasts forever, But when someone really has to leave, everyone will find that this kind of parting sorrow is really heartbreaking. Even Liu Yifei, who was secretly happy, couldn't help but feel sad. Auntie, no one will help you clean up the mess in the future. You must be more careful and don't be deceived by people with bad intentions. Shut up, no one will think you are dumb if you don't speak. You make it seem like you have cleaned up so many messes for me, but it was obviously Licken and the others who helped clean them up. Liu Kao's eyes were wet. She only now understood why her friends ignored her just now. It was not because they thought she was leaving and there was no need to welcome her warmly, but because they were preparing gifts for her. Don't cry, it will make you ugly, Lin Miaomiao joked, suppressing her sadness. I'm not even married yet, and you're cursing me like this, Liu Kao cried and laughed. To cheer everyone up, she grabbed the necklace and forced a smile. Let me see what gift you gave me. If it's not good, I don't want it. Most space buttons have special markings to prevent them from being confused with decorative items. The pearl had a capital K on it, making it instantly recognizable as a space item. The diamond ring, however, looked completely different. It required mental power to detect it as a space button. So, Liu Kao immediately recognized the necklace as a space button and became curious about the gift inside. Feng Licken quickly stopped her. Don't release it. Why? Liu Kao was confused. Did they have to wait until she returned to the dormitory to remove it? The space here is too small. You can use your mental power to see it. There's no need to release it. Liu Kao was puzzled, but she obediently followed her instructions. Then she exclaimed, Mech. You actually gave me a level 4 mech. How extravagant. Everyone frowned. Shouldn't this girl's first thought upon seeing the gift be touch? Gu Qingheng, however, picked up the ring with his slender, fair hand, his gentle voice tinged with a smile. So, mine's a mecha, too. Lin Miaomiao nodded. I heard you haven't bought a level 6 mecha yet. This was just a passing remark, but the meaning was clear, and everyone sighed with admiration. As expected of a rich Lin, even a mecha as a parting gift, Luo Cheng clung to his words with envy. Liu Yifei, however, shouted directly, Little cook, how generous. Boss, I strongly request a fleet deployment. His rambling words were strangely understood. Liu Yifei had completely abandoned his integrity to get a mecha as a gift. Unfortunately, even if he threw his integrity to the curb, Lin Miaomiao wouldn't give him the same parting gift. She said proudly, You're leaving now, the most I can give you is a mecha model. Liu Yifei instantly fainted in the bathroom. They were teammates, but how could there be such a huge difference? The value of a mecha and a mecha model was truly worlds apart. While Liu Huo was busy showing off, Yu Zixin took out a box as tall as a person. The outer packaging was decorated with pink hearts on a white background, and tied with a large pink and blue bow, which looked very girly. When they first saw the packaging, everyone thought that this was an extra gift from Yu Zixin and his wife to Liu Kao, but what was unexpected was that the box was handed to Gu Qingheng. Deputy Captain Gu, thank you for taking care of us during this period. This is a little gift from us. I hope you can accept it, Yu Zixin said with a smile. Gu Qingheng stared at the outer packaging of the box and had a bad feeling in his heart, but it seemed not good to refuse a gift, so he politely thanked him and accepted it. What is this? The packaging looks quite valuable, Luo Cheng suggested with interest. Would you like to take a look? That's not a good idea, Gu Qingheng gently but firmly declined. It's impolite to open a gift in front of the host, Yu Zixin replied nonchalantly. It's okay. Ashen and I racked our brains to come up with this gift. You're sure to like it, Feng Licken, looking rather confused, added, and Licken thinks it's great too. Feng Licken's face paled. I don't think it's great, I just didn't bother to object. Not objecting means you agree, Yu Zixin said with an I understand look on his face, winking at his friends as a reassuring gesture. But could Feng Licken be reassured? Of course not. She only hoped Gu Qingheng wouldn't agree to open the gift right then and there, or her integrity would be ruined. Feng Licken and Yu Zixin exchanged only a few words, but it sparked intense curiosity among everyone. Even Lin Miaomiao was speculating about what it was. Kinkyu, open it and take a look. Lin Miaomiao stared at the box, wishing she could help open it herself. Gu Qingheng looked at her helplessly. Do you really want to see it? Lin Miaomiao nodded repeatedly, and Liu Kao also urged excitedly. Hurry up and open it. Everyone was so curious. Gu Qingheng could only smile bitterly and took off the bow. When the box was about to be opened, Feng Licken suddenly stood up. I'm going to the bathroom. Go ahead, Lin Miaomiao waved her hand casually. Go quickly and come back soon. Fang Licken hid in the bathroom, and Gu Qingheng's gift also revealed its true face. It was actually a simulated female robot with an oval face, willow-shaped eyebrows, big eyes closed, and a cherry mouth. She was wearing a tank top and a miniskirt, showing off her curves. What a beautiful robot! Liu Kaoyu couldn't help but poke its cheek, feeling it felt just like a real one. It's a good thing you didn't give it to me. Otherwise, I'd be so troubled if the robot butler were prettier than me. Highly realistic robots like these are expensive. A more powerful one would cost well into the 6 figures. Liu Kaoyu suspected this was just an ordinary household robot. After all, her friend's pocket money was limited, and they'd already pooled their money to buy her a mecha, so how could they afford a top-of-the-line robot? The men's faces changed. Some, like Luo Chang, tried to suppress their laughter. Some, like Liu Yifei, felt embarrassed. Only Yu Zixin, the gift-giver, laughed heartily. Kaoyu, you can't use this robot. Why not? Liu Kaoyu glared at him in dissatisfaction. Don't say that, Liu Yifei roared. Unfortunately, he was too late to stop it. Yu Zixin had already triumphantly announced the answer, because it's for warming the bed. Unless you're gay, you can't use it. Bed warming. Liu Kaoyu opened her mouth into an O shape, her neck stiffly twisted towards Gu Qingheng. Is it for the deputy captain? Lin Miaomiao also blinked and looked at her friend Gu. It turned out that Kinky had such a hobby. She really didn't realize it. Speaking of which, she had heard of bed-warming robots many times, but this was the first time she saw one, and she was really curious. Curious, she stretched out her claws towards the high bulge of the robot with its eyes closed. Chapter 606 Farewell. The moment the glamorous gift appeared, the original purpose of the gathering was soured. Gu Qingheng, with a stiff expression, thrust a robot into Liu Yifei's hands. I don't need this thing. I'll give it to you. No, no, Liu Yifei hurriedly refused. This is a gift from them. I can't take it for granted. Yu Zixin's face was hurt. Deputy Ship, this took us a long time to choose. Don't you like it? This, Gu Qingheng was in a dilemma. He couldn't say he liked the gift, but saying he didn't would be hurtful. Thinking that he would be leaving tomorrow, he made up his mind and tossed the gift into the space button. Thank you for the gift. I've already had lunch. I want to go back and rest. With that, he stood up, his ears flushed, and strode towards the door. With one of the main characters gone, everyone felt a little sleepy, and the small gathering ended there. The farewell banquet that evening was lively. This recruitment season had nearly 800 more people at once, and even cooking was too much for Lin Miaomiao. A few dumb robots were added to the kitchen to help with odd jobs, while Shen Yi, Shen Er, and Shen San helped Lolly cook. Lin Miaomiao only took care of a few of her specialties, such as stewed beef brisket with radish and cola chicken wings. One person and several robots worked hard for an entire afternoon and finally prepared a sumptuous buffet, which the friends all enjoyed. After the farewell banquet, Gu Qingheng and Liu Kaoyu handed in their uniforms with a Shen Yu logo. From that moment on, they were no longer members of the Shen Yu team, but guests. On the day of their departure, Lin Miaomiao got up early in the morning and made 2 bowls of noodles, adding 3 fried eggs to each bowl. She called the 2 to the dormitory to watch them finish the food, and then went to the boarding platform together. In order not to affect everyone's training time, Gu Qingheng and the others set off at 7:30 in the morning. The faster ship number 2 would take them to Aoshi and pick up Song Changte, who had been transferred to Shenyu. At 7:15, Gu Qingheng and Liu Kaoyu were already standing at the door of the second ship. Lin Miaomiao, Fang Licken, and others looked at them reluctantly from the tempered glass corridor outside. From now on, they would be in different fleets and could only communicate through video. It would be difficult for them to have a meal together. Miaomiao, I have something to tell you, Liu Kaoyu said seriously. You must remember this. Seeing her serious expression, Lin Miaomiao asked cautiously, what is it? Even if I'm not in Shen Yu anymore, when you cook for yourself or make snacks in the future, don't forget my share, Lin Miaomiao. The people who were seeing them off burst into laughter, and the sadness in their hearts disappeared in an instant. Don't laugh, I'm serious, Liu Kaoyu emphasized anxiously, even though we are not together, we are still good friends. You can't eat alone, remember, Lin Miaomiao curled the corner of her mouth and responded casually, remember that's good. Liu Kaoyu was satisfied, but because the distance was far, she wanted to have double insurance, So she said to Liu Yifei, remember, when they have a special meal in the future, just send me a text message to inform me. If it is not done well, I will deal with you when I get home. Liu Yifei was embarrassed. His aunt really disregarded her moral integrity for food. But he didn't dare to protest, so he could only answer seriously, I know. After explaining the business, Liu Kaoyu finally breathed a sigh of relief, and then she had time to feel sad. You will be lonely after I'm gone, but there's nothing I can do. Who made me the deputy manager of Deputy Captain Gu? I can only say that one misstep will lead to eternal regret. The veins on Gu Qinghang's forehead jumped. He was already the captain of Aoshi, so being his adjutant shouldn't be a bad thing. Kaoyu was too disrespectful. If someone didn't know better, they would think he had abducted an ignorant girl. He decided to endure it because she was still young. After all, she was Miaomiao's friend and Liu Yifei's aunt. Gu Qinghang didn't care too much. Captain Yi, thank you for your support and care for me during this time. Although we will not be in the same legion in the future, don't forget to keep in touch, Gu Qinghang said with a gentle smile. Yi Hongwen's face was full of disgust. Hurry up and leave, don't affect our normal training. Gu Qinghang gritted his teeth. He was really stupid to think that Shen Yu was more humane. These troublesome guys didn't let him have an easy time on the last day. Thinking of the bed-warming robot in the space button, he scowled at Liu Kaoyu. Get on board. Don't delay your departure. It's not like we won't see each other again. Liu Kaoyu, who was in the middle of instructing her on what delicious treats to pack for her, pouted. Although she'd only been here for a little over a year, she had family and close friends here, and she couldn't bear to leave. The thought of being alone in Aoshi brought tears to her eyes. Liu Kaoyu had always been a playful person, laughing when she wanted to and crying when she wanted to. She'd been able to hold back just thinking about the delicious food, but now that she was about to board the ship and leave, how could she bear it? She burst into tears. Crying wasn't the worst part. While she was crying, she hugged Lin Miaomiao and Fang Licken, one in each, sobbing, I don't want to go to Aoshi. I want to stay in Shenyu. I can't bear to leave you. Wow, Lin Miaomiao's eyes also moistened. They'd known each other for years and had agreed to stay in Shenyu forever, but now they had to say goodbye. Okay, look at you, you're crying like this and you're useless, Fang Licken said with pretended disdain. Hurry up and leave, I don't want to have a friend who can't be weaned. Licken, you're too much, you step on someone who's so sad. Liu Kaoyu sniffed and blinked hard to blink back the tears. She wouldn't be reluctant to leave a cold-blooded and heartless friend. After finally stopping the tears, Liu Kaoyu pouted and let go of her hand, clenched her fists, turned around, and walked into the ship with difficulty. Kaoyu, Fang Licken shouted at her back. Liu Kaoyu felt a sense of joy in her heart. She was loved by everyone, and Licken couldn't bear to let her leave. Turning back with a stern face, Liu Kaoyu raised her chin and said, What? Didn't you tell me to leave quickly? Fang Licken also had a stern face. I just wanted to remind you that you must train well when you go to Aoshi, and try to use the gift we gave you as soon as possible. Also, you came from Shenyu? Don't embarrass our Shenyu. Liu Kaoyu's eyes widened. You're too much? We're breaking up. Being provoked too much? Liu Kaoyu turned around angrily and got on the ship. Without Gu Qinghang urging her. The hatch closed, and the second ship slowly rose into the sky. Fang Licken, who had been full of disgust just now, shed tears. She wiped her face with her sleeve and said to Lin Miaomiao, This foodie, he can't even calm down before leaving. He's just going to the White Tiger Collar. If he wants to see someone, he can just take the passenger ship. Why are you being so clingy? Lin Miaomiao pulled the corner of her mouth and said in a very disrespectful way, Your tears are flowing again. Fang Licken covered her face. This guy, can we still be friends happily? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 607 5 Years. Liu Kaoyu and Gu Qinghang's departure seemed like a dream, and upon waking, everyone returned to their peaceful lives. When her friends first left, Lin Miaomiao never forgot to send her a portion of her delicious meals, but as her training increased, she no longer had the energy to cook for herself. Even when she did make snacks, she no longer made the special trip to Aoshi. Fang Licken and Yu Zixin had initially mentioned Kaoyu frequently, but as time passed, Their mentions dwindled, and their video calls became less frequent. Remarkably, not long after Liu Kaoyer's transfer to Aoshi, Xiao Hao, having recovered from the grief of his sister's death, visited her in Shenyu. Upon learning of her transfer, he was overcome with remorse and immediately booked a ticket on the nearest passenger ship to Shui Liangxing to pursue her. Later, it was rumored that the two were still together, and despite frequent arguments and breakups, they had never truly separated. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, 5 years had passed. Lin Miaomiao and the others had become veterans of Shenyu, and Shenyu had grown into a fleet of 4,000 to 5,000 men. In the past 5 years, Yu Zixin and Zhu Chen have obtained their marriage certificate and become legally married. They held a grand wedding on Muralin Star and a simple banquet at the fleet, inviting Chen Guang's chef to prepare the feast. Ye Hongwen also wanted to get married and had mentioned it several times, but Lin Miaomiao always brushed him off. Fortunately, his efforts were not in vain. At least the parents of both parties had met, and the two had an engagement ceremony, officially announcing their relationship. Feng Liqin remained single. She had many suitors, but to her dismay, most of them were younger, attracted by her gentleness, virtuousness, maturity, and understanding. At first, she was quite complacent, thinking that her charm was so great that even younger men were willing to succumb to her green military pants. But then one of her suitors accidentally blurted out the real reason. After 6 years in the fleet, Feng Liqin had given up on finding a boyfriend and began seeking career opportunities outside the fleet. However, with her daily schedule either training or fleet missions, there were no opportunities for advancement. Now, she no longer pushed things, simply letting things take their course. Perhaps one day, she'd strike out and meet her Mr. Right. While older single women haven't found a good partner, older single men have blossomed. For example, Liu Yifei, who had already passed his 40th birthday, unexpectedly found a recent graduate 17 years his junior. Lin Miaomiao had once mocked Liu Yifei for being an old cow craving young grass, but she hadn't expected Captain Yi to overhear her. With a sullen face, he carried her back to the dormitory and slept with her over and over again. Then, with a chuckle, she remembered that Captain Yi, nearly 20 years her senior, was also one of those old cows craving young grass types. Lin Miaomiao pondered seriously, wondering if she, a young woman, could handle such an old cow. Aside from her tangled relationship, Lin Miaomiao's life was relatively carefree. Lolly managed the kitchen, and the training workload was increasing, but she was gradually adapting. Physical training for veterans had been separated from that for new recruits. Besides the morning 40-lap run, morning pay classes had been replaced with military boxing training. Soldiers who had been in the service for 3 years were expected to engage in both beating and receiving blows. This change was proposed by the exchanged lieutenant, Song Changte, due to the assassination attempt by a traitor. He believed that being proficient in mechas doesn't guarantee proficiency in other areas. If your opponent exploits your weakness and temporarily prevents you from accessing your mecha, it's only a matter of time before you're killed. After the introduction of military boxing, many enthusiastic soldiers took to the training sessions. Learning it made future fights much easier. Of course, as soldiers, they couldn't assault ordinary Federation citizens. Any such offense would result in court-martial, ranging from solitary confinement to expulsion from the fleet. Military boxing is merely about physical fitness, it's the mecha master level that matters most. Over the past 5 years, many members of Shenyu have reached the rank of level 5 mecha master, leaving the few level 5 mechas donated by Lin Miaomiao barely enough to go around. Fortunately, time has not only brought Shenyu more members, but also more money. After maintaining the fleet and paying the members' allowances, there's still plenty left over from the annual military budget, allowing the fleet to purchase more parts and assemble mechas. Lin Miaomiao has also made significant progress, having recently successfully reached the rank of level 5 mecha master. This fact has caused a huge sensation in Shenyu, considering she's only 25. However, with Yi Hongwen's example in front of her, no one saw anything wrong with her, even though she was also talented. The captain is a genius mecha pilot, so the future captain's wife shouldn't be any less talented. Lin Miaomiao's promotion had reduced Yi Hongwen's romantic interests. With such a fierce fiancé, who would dare covet Captain Yi's potential? Captain Yi's romantic interests declined, but Lin Miaomiao's popularity increased. She was once again known as the mecha goddess, Many male team members of the same age came to him with trepidation to try to recruit him. However, a certain cook, accustomed to seeing cold and unpredictable people, simply disdained these suitors. "They're coming here to poach us, trying to imitate the villain's ways, but afraid to offend the captain. How can we accept such a person? Do you really think I'm that stupid?" The poachers returned disappointed. Even more distressing was that Captain Yi held a high reputation within Shenyu. No matter how covert their attempt was, someone would know about it and report it without hesitation. Yi Hongwen has always been accustomed to taking personal revenge. After learning about these people's behavior, he ordered a group of diehards to torment these people over and over again, and even called it, "Learning military boxing requires getting used to sparring with each other." Chapter 608 Escort Mission. After the Fifth Interstellar War, the Federation and the Empire signed a 100-year agreement for peaceful coexistence. However, after more than 30 years of peace, the Empire began to stir. It would occasionally send fleets to intrude on Federation border planets and bribe numerous Federation residents to serve as spies. 5 years ago, Shen Yu uncovered a spy in the Empire's employ. The spy, Zhang Qi, had a close relationship with Lin Miaomiao. She confessed that she had no idea the spy was an Imperial agent. The reason for her bribery was simple: she had ambitions for advancement but lacked the necessary skills. Zhang Qi's feelings for Lin Miaomiao were complex: admiration and gratitude, but more than that, jealousy. She was envious of her family's pampering and of her reaching the rank of 4th-level mecha pilot before she was even 20. Even so, she had no intention of betraying the Federation. The Imperial agent who lured her into this situation used the guise of Vice Captain Rong Su, convincing her that by disclosing Shen Yu's secret information to other fleets, Yi Hongwen would be removed from office, the fleet would be reshuffled, and she would have a chance to rise to prominence. Unfortunately, Zhang Qi was apprehended after only a few insignificant pieces of information. Of course, it wasn't that she didn't want to share important information. The truth was, her position within Shen Yu was too low, denying her access to core secrets. As a traitor to the Federation, the saying "ignorance is not a crime" didn't apply to her. After she passed on her first piece of information, her fate was sealed. She would die of old age in the Federation's star prison. Zhang Qi refused to accept this outcome. She believed she hadn't committed much harm. Even Shen Runan, who attempted assassination, was only expelled from the military and imprisoned for 20 years. Why, then, was she sentenced to life imprisonment? Her grievances went unanswered, as the military ignored her reasons and concerns. Anything connected to the Empire was under scrutiny. Zhang Qi's exposure alarmed the military, alerting them to the Empire's minions seeking to steal Federation resources. They launched a joint crackdown, once again examining the records and family records of every soldier in every fleet, while also monitoring their movements and assets. While this operation was time-consuming, labor-intensive, and costly, it successfully uncovered a group of corrupt officials who had been bribed by Imperial spies. Following the clues, they apprehended numerous Imperial spies. After the investigation, the Federation's top brass was furious. They had bribed so many people, did they think they were dead? To deter the Empire, the top brass inflicted a drug on the captured Imperial spies and traitors, deactivating their mental spheres, and sent them to the energy planet to mine. Zhang Qi, who had been imprisoned in the Star Prison, was also released. Energy Planet already needed personnel to mine its deposits, and this free labor saved the Federation considerable funds. The Federation's dramatic move silenced the Empire's shady dealings, sending representatives to explain, "This is just a misunderstanding, the work of some treacherous individuals. We are absolutely pacifists." The Imperial brass, ambitious and resigned, surrendered only because they were unsure they could defeat the Federation. To paralyze them, they proposed sending exchange students between the two countries, fostering mutual understanding and learning. The Federation's military strength rivaled the Empire's. While they weren't afraid of war, they would likely choose peaceful coexistence over force. After analyzing the current situation, they agreed to the proposal for mutual exchange students. However, the Federation's top brass disagreed over the selection of exchange students. The military advocated for students with outstanding abilities and backgrounds, while the Senate felt the Empire was ambitious and unsure of the exchange students' safety, preferring instead to select students from ordinary families with above-average academic performance. The two sides argued for a long time, with the military nearly resorting to violence. Ultimately, Both sides backed down and announced to universities that students would be free to apply, with admissions based on merit. The first class of exchange students consisted mostly of seniors from ordinary families with excellent academic performance. Lacking any support, they would struggle to achieve high academic positions, even with their exceptional academic record. This presented them with a rare opportunity. Losing the gamble meant losing their lives, but winning would transform their lives and benefit their families immensely. Perhaps intimidated by the Federation's aggressive crackdown on spies and traitors, the Empire didn't dare to openly harm the exchange students. The first class returned safely after 6 months. Despite some setbacks, they were already enlisted in the Grand Fleet before graduation, making their journey a worthwhile one. With the success of their predecessors, the second year's exchange student spots became extremely popular. Not only were high-achieving graduates without connections eager to apply, but even those from well-off families with numerous siblings also sought to gain experience. The competition among students for spots was, of course, none of Shen Yu's business. However, after this year's exchange students were selected, she was assigned to escort them. These students were the future of the Federation. Before the conflict, their safety was guaranteed once they entered the Imperial Academy, but the journey to the Empire was no guarantee. With the current rampant interstellar pirates, it's possible they could kidnap the exchange students in a fit of rage. Furthermore, the Federation's top brass viewed the Imperials as treacherous. What if they disguised their warships as interstellar pirates and attacked the exchange students mid-journey? Therefore, a fleet had to be dispatched to safely escort the exchange students to the Empire. The Imperial leadership likely shared similar ideas and also proposed sending a fleet to escort the exchange students. Both sides hit it off and immediately signed a contract stipulating the size and number of escort fleets, ensuring smooth access to each other's territory. The exchange students were to depart in mid-August, traveling for 2 weeks to reach the Imperial Star in the heart of the Empire. They would reside there for 6 months, then be brought back by the escort fleet upon their return. This meant that Shen Yu's mission would require 2 trips, each taking approximately a month. The risks involved were unpredictable, with a possibility of incredible success or unfortunate encounters with pirates. Shen Yu originally had only 2 deputy captains. But as the fleet grew in size, the existing management team became insufficient. After conferring with Song Changte and Li Yanhua, Yi Hongwen petitioned the military to promote Luo Cheng to deputy captain. 6 captains were selected and the remaining crew members were divided into 9 squads. Each captain was responsible for the training and mission status of a squad, while the 3 lieutenants each led 3 captains. Whenever a mission was called, the captain would delegate it to the lieutenants, who would then assign the captains and crew members. Due to the importance of this escort mission, Yi Hongwen did not delegate it directly to the lieutenants upon receiving it. Instead, he convened a meeting with the 3 lieutenants and 9 squad leaders to discuss the formation for the expedition to the Empire. Chapter 609 High-Level Meeting. According to the agreement between the Federation and the Empire, the escort fleet could not exceed 10 warships, regardless of size, but the number of mecha operators must be under 3,000. Such a fleet, fully engaged, could annihilate even a small planet, effectively guaranteeing the students' safety without threatening the Empire. After all, the Imperial Star, as the heart of the Empire, was protected by a dozen fleets. While Shen Yu's mission might seem dangerous only on the way, that wasn't the case. The real danger lay after landing on the Imperial Star. "Captain, are we deploying a full 3,000 mecha operators for this escort mission?" Luo Cheng asked. With the expansion of the fleet, the previously somewhat scornful nomenclature had returned to normal. In formal settings, everyone no longer addressed each other as boss, but their close relationship remained, which was why Luo Cheng spoke first. Yi Hongwen, who was monitoring the student exchange program, didn't rush to respond, but instead turned to the other 2 lieutenants. "What do you think?" Song Changte and Li Yanhua were of similar age and strength, often interacting together and forming a close rapport. Upon hearing the captain's question, they exchanged glances. Before the escort mission was assigned, they had already heard that the higher-ups preferred Shen Yu to escort the exchange students, so they had discussed this issue privately. Now that Yi Hongwen asked, the 2 of them quickly formulated their responses. The exchange student exchange happens every 2 years. The previous 2 went smoothly, and there weren't any unusual moves in the Empire. Therefore, the military assigned a medium-sized fleet like ours to escort them this year. Song Changte frowned and carefully chose his words. Logically, this mission is quite simple. and it should require many members. While students are the future of the Federation, the pirates are not fools. They simply wouldn't risk the wrath of the Federation by committing murder and robbery. Once they enter the Empire's territory, the Empire must step in to guarantee their safety. Therefore, sending too many members out wouldn't be very helpful. Song Changte paused, and Lin Yin continued in tacit understanding. However, the Empire's ambitions are impossible to dispel. We can't be sure how long they will suppress them. If they feel the time has come, they might turn against us and wipe out the escort fleet and its crew members. Ye Hongwen rubbed his temples, feeling a headache. These two scoundrels were enough, never failing to keep us in suspense. Too lazy to beat around the bush, he asked directly, "So, what's your conclusion, Captain?" "Don't be impatient," Lin said cheerfully. "We haven't finished our talk yet. You may continue." Ye Hongwen gestured in a deadpan manner. "But, let's not waste any more time on this nonsense. Young people just have no patience," Song Changte sighed in a pretentious manner. His partner, Luo Chang, had been dead for over 5 years. When she first passed, he felt as if the world was falling. He was so disheartened that he couldn't even care for his son. He just wanted to get away from Aoshi, somewhere where no one knew him, to lick his wounds alone. After entering Shenyu, Song Changte realized that even if he lost his partner, the sky wouldn't fall. Even if the rules were very strict, this group of people always managed to make a funny effect. And unknowingly, he got out of the trough of life. It must be said that the infectious power of funny people is amazing. The once serious and steady Deputy Captain Song now likes to tease people. Even the cold-faced young captain is not spared. Fortunately, he also knew when to stop, and after the joke, he immediately turned back to the topic. "To escort the students to the Empire, we must have sufficient manpower. After all, many children from wealthy families now want to go to the Empire to gild themselves. With so many mobile money bags, it is not impossible for the pirates to take risks, so we suggest that we send as many people as there are vacancies this time." Lin face became much more serious. "It is better to be cautious." Ye Hongwen nodded. "We really can't have fewer people going." Luo Cheng frowned. "But there is another problem. If most of our fleet goes there, and the Empire chooses to make trouble, then the 3,000 people will have difficulty returning. This is a risk we should take. For those outstanding students, for the honor of Shenyu, and for the pride of being a soldier, we cannot retreat." "I see, we have no way out. If we escape, Shenyu will have no reputation at all." Luo Cheng exhaled. "Boss, I apply to be responsible for this mission." "No," Lin and Song Changte rejected in unison. Luo Cheng scratched his head. "What's wrong? I think I'm the most suitable one. I'm young, strong, and have no burdens," Lin said coldly. "With you being a level 5 mech master, what would you do if you ran into a level 6 pirate leader? Would you crush him with human waves? Or would you just bombard him with warships?" Luo Cheng took 10,000 points of damage, and he felt a deep malice from the world. Although he had become the deputy captain, he was still only a level 5 mech master. Although no one objected, he felt frustrated. Fortunately, no one in the fleet had advanced to level 6 mech master in recent years, otherwise he would have been ashamed. Seeing that his words had so easily repelled Luo Cheng, Lin was immediately delighted and volunteered to take on the mission. "I've wanted to visit the Empire for a long time. Such a great opportunity must be mine. I'll go," Song Changte said, with his own reasons. "Old Luo has always loved traveling. I'll take him to the Empire so he won't regret not being able to set foot on the other side of the universe." "Stop arguing," Ye Hongwen said, overwhelming everyone. "I'll lead this mission myself." "No," everyone objected in unison. The 9 captains, who had been acting as background figures for a long time, could no longer remain silent and spoke out against the captain leading the team personally. The teammates who had been promoted later were more cautious in their words, but Liu Yifei, Wen Zixi, and Fan Lei were not polite at all. Liu Yifei said, "Captain, you are not only famous in the Federation, but your glorious deeds are also spread throughout the Empire. Everyone says that you can enter the ranks of level 7 before the age of 50. If you go to the Empire to send someone, you might just walk into the tiger's mouth." Fan Lei nodded in agreement. Maybe the Empire didn't want to take action, but when they saw you, a potential level 9 or 10 mecha master, coming to them, they felt sorry for themselves if they didn't. When Zixi was even more ruthless. He directly brought up Lin Miaomiao. "If you die, the little chef's suitors will definitely be very happy." This is a free opportunity. Everyone tried to persuade Yi Hongwen for a long time, but he didn't respond. But when he heard this, his cold face could no longer be maintained. Who is it? When Zixi, who was busy making up stories, was at a loss. Boss, what did you say? Who? Yi Hongwen gritted his teeth and said, who is Miaomiao's suitor? Tell me, I guarantee you won't be killed. Everyone, Captain, are you focusing on the wrong thing? It seems like we are persuading you not to lead the team yourself. Chapter 610 The Look of Picking Pork. Of course, Yi Hongwen couldn't get an answer about Lin Miaomiao's suitors. After all, when Zixi was just casually saying it, so how could he truly know who the young chef's suitors were? Besides, Lin Miaomiao had already become a level 5 mecha master at the age of 25. While she certainly had many admirers, none had the courage to pursue her. Captain Yi's stamp was clear. When Zixi offered a few perfunctory responses, but Captain Yi persisted in demanding an answer, prompting Song Changte to intervene. Captain, you should ask your fiancée about whether she has any suitors. The young chef is always forthright and would certainly not hide anything from you. Let's get back to the point so we don't waste too much time. Business was more important. Gossip was best discussed after the meeting, so as not to disrupt meal times. With the fleet's growing number, waiting in line for food was a significant problem. Unfortunately, Shen Yu's senior management had no special privileges and had to endure the long queues alongside the rest of the team. Yi Hongwen pursed his lips. Having a bunch of idiot subordinates was truly terrifying. He'd even been led astray, losing sight of the distinction between public and private matters. He'd have to be more vigilant in the future. Captain Song, if you have something to say, just say it. No need to be so secretive. Yi Hongwen had regained his composure. Oh, it's like this, Song Changte said solemnly and honestly. We unanimously oppose you leading this mission for the following reasons. The fleet needs you to be in command. As the captain of a ship, it would be foolish to go despite knowing the danger. The Empire would rather turn against you than let you return. Li Enho quickly summarized. To sum up, Captain, you only have a say in this mission, not the right to lead. The three lieutenants strongly objected, their reasons quite valid. Yi Hongwen had no choice but to compromise. He said, almost with a wry smile, then who do you think is the most reasonable person to go? I'll go, the three lieutenants answered in unison. With all wanting to go, Yi Hongwen didn't know how to assign the tasks, so he simply let them decide among themselves. Song Changte and Li Enho exchanged a glance, each dragging Luo Cheng out of the small conference room to discuss matters. 10 minutes later, the three returned to their seats. We've agreed, Li Enho beamed. This time, Lieutenant Captain Song and I will go together, while Lieutenant Captain Luo will stay behind. Luo Cheng sat in his seat, bruised and battered. These two old men were ruthless. They'd beaten him up if he refused to withdraw, leaving him with a face so bruised that even his parents couldn't recognize him. They were truly cruel and ruthless. Those who rely on their looks for a living care about their reputation, and to avoid the disastrous consequences of disfigurement, he had no choice but to accept the outcome. The team leader selection was announced, and the 9 captains began a new round of competition. 3 of Luo Cheng's teammates were the first to disqualify, and then one of Song Changte's captains, unable to withstand the pressure, voluntarily withdrew from the competition, leaving the remaining 5 qualified for the mission. Yi Hongwen, watching from the audience, frowned. His authority as captain had been completely shattered. Okay, now we only have 3,000 mech operators left, Song Changte said, pretending not to see Yi Hongwen's expression. I suggest selecting a group of experienced individuals who have difficulty improving their skills. Fewer level 5 mech operators are recommended. This wasn't out of cruelty, but rather a precautionary measure. The team members sent on the mission couldn't be too exceptional. If they didn't return, Shen Yu wouldn't be plunged into the abyss. Therefore, they wouldn't have the captains lead their mech operators on this mission. Instead, they would select specific members to leave a legacy for Shen Yu. Song Changte's suggestion was quickly adopted, and Yi Hongwen immediately assigned the task of selecting the personnel to the 9 team leaders. You know the status of your troops. Go back and compile the list and submit it to Lieutenant Captain Song or Lieutenant Captain Li. We'll make appropriate cuts after the list is compiled. Yes, the 9 team leaders responded in unison. The meeting ended for now. As everyone left the small conference room, Liu Yifei, Wen Zixi, and Fan Lei rebelled, dragging their immediate superior, Luo Cheng, into the hallway to discuss life. Let me go, Luo Cheng roared. What do you three want? If you want to be vice captain, just say so. I'll resign immediately. Hey, you wishful thinking. I finally got you into the vice captain position, how can I let you go? Liu Yifei said with a wicked smile. We just want to spar with you now. When Zixi's lips curved deeply as he slowly pinched Luo Cheng's waist a few times. The three of us are brothers. We followed you because we trusted you, but now I regret it. My chance to travel to the Empire is gone. How are you going to make amends? Fan Lei said nothing and started beating him up. He relied on his looks to make a living, so they destroyed his rice bowl and left him without food. The brutal trio beat Vice Captain Luo until he gained a lot of weight before stopping. To cover up the evidence, when Zixi took out a small therapeutic device and healed the wounds on his face, leaving only a faint bruise. After the treatment, the three men left Luo Cheng sprawled on the ground and walked away. Having vented their anger, they naturally had to get back to work. How could they not keep a close eye on those men under their command? He pounded the ground with his fists in anger. These people were going too far, bullying him. Meanwhile, Luo Cheng was utterly frustrated. In the training room, Lin Miaomiao and Feng Liken were sparring with military boxing. In 5 years, Lin Miaomiao had grown from a short stature of just over 5 feet 6 inches to an average height of 5 feet 7 inches. Although she was still half a head shorter than Yi Hongwen, she was quite satisfied, considering she hadn't even been 5 feet 6 inches in her previous life. The captains who had gone to the meeting returned. While practicing, the team members pricked up their ears for any sounds. They had gone to a meeting so early in the morning, the fleet must have received another mission. Unfortunately, when Zixi had no intention of speaking, he simply pulled out a small computer from his space button and pulled up the team members' electronic files, deciding to review them before making any selections. So, during the morning's military boxing sparring session, the members of Team 3 broke out in cold sweats as their captain, with a stern face, circled around the others, refusing to explain what was going on. The only one who felt any better was probably Lin Miaomiao, as she was a promising talent, and when Zixi hadn't intended her to be a part of this mission from the beginning. After a while, he finally left with a satisfied nod after the training ended at 11 o'clock. The other members breathed a sigh of relief. Feng Liken wiped the non-existent sweat from her forehead and said, "Why is the captain acting so strange today? He keeps circling us like he's picking at pork." Lin Miaomiao frowned, comparing herself to the pork. Liken was becoming increasingly unrefined, and she wondered if she was being influenced by those scoundrel male teammates. Frustratingly, her words were unanimously agreed with everyone. Everyone had clearly seen the captain's strange expression. The confused boys decided, "Cook, find out what's going on during lunch." Lin Miaomiao blushed. Why is she always the one getting hurt? Chapter 611 The Role of Raising a Bun. Unable to refuse, Lin Miaomiao, burdened with a heavy responsibility, could only act like a gentle girlfriend during lunch, serving food to her boyfriend. Of course, the dishes she served were all dishes she disliked. Adhering to the principle of not talking while eating and not talking while sleeping, she didn't rush to ask. Puzzled, Yi Hongwen finished his meal before asking, "Miaomiao, what's wrong with you today?" For balanced nutrition, Lin Miaomiao would grit her teeth and swallow even dishes she disliked, but today, unusually, she picked up several pieces of food with her chopsticks for him, clearly wanting to talk. "Nothing, I just have a question I need your help with," Lin Miaomiao replied with a wooden face. "I see," Yi Hongwen nodded in understanding. "Then let's talk about it." Back in the dorms, to ensure that team members could eat on time, the cafeteria underwent a small change. Instead of queuing in the kitchen, the queues were moved to a long row of windows on the wall opposite the stove. Team members simply lined up outside in the spacious open space for their meals, with a robot manning each window inside. During mealtimes, the cafeteria had 6 windows open, 5 for serving food. Each window offered 2 meat dishes and 1 vegetable dish, with each window offering slightly different dishes. The last window was for serving soup and refills. Those who preferred soup or didn't have enough rice could go over and get more. As long as they didn't waste food, they could eat as much as they wanted. No card needed, and no selections were required. The cafeteria's efficiency was so high that everyone's meal took less than half an hour. If they wanted, they could go back to the dorms and sit down. Lin Miaomiao checked the time and saw it was only 11:20. Feeling she had plenty of time, she nodded and agreed to go back to the dorms. After all, The cafeteria wasn't far away, so it wouldn't take much time. Concerned about wasting fleet resources, she had moved into Ye Hongwen's dorm 2 years ago after getting engaged, giving up the 49th floor. Although the fleet had plenty of rooms, the move didn't mean much, but Ye Hongwen was still happy. It meant he was no longer just slaving away in his girlfriend's dorm, but was now openly living with his fiancée. Miaomiao, let's get the certificate sometime, Captain Yi suggested seriously. We're getting old, it's time to think about the next generation. It's too early, Lin Miaomiao said, blinking as a refusal. I'm not even a level 6 mecha master yet, so I don't have time to take care of a child. Ye Hongwen shook his head. Even if you become a level 6 mecha master, you still won't have time to take care of the child. Grandma will have to take care of the child, so there was no need to worry about all that, just work hard to have a baby. Besides, Lin Miaomiao had only recently become a level 5 mecha master. It would take years for her to reach level 6. Mother, you couldn't wait to have a grandchild. But if I'm pregnant, I can't do strenuous training or pilot a mecha for long periods of time. Lin Miaomiao's expression turned bitter. Without training for more than a year, her strength would decline, and her friends would laugh at her to death. Besides, they'd all said they'd have a baby together, but Liken hadn't found a man yet, and Yao Zixin and his wife were waiting. How could she break her vow? Of course. They didn't have to wait until everyone else was married before discussing pregnancy. If Liken hadn't found a man, and they were over 40 and ready to have children, their vows would have naturally dissipated. As for whether 40 was too late to consider having children, Lin Miaomiao could only say that people were living longer these days, so 40 wasn't considered too late at all. Except for the wealthy, powerful, and free, most people didn't consider having children until they were over 50. Liu Yifei's great-grandfather, for example, was already in his 70s or 80s when he had his youngest daughter, Liu Kan'er. While that might be considered robust in the 21st century, it was nothing in the interstellar age. I don't want to fall too far behind you, Lin Miaomiao pouted. Shen Yu's female team members were increasing in number, and many had ulterior motives. Some had even challenged her recently. If she hadn't fought hard to reach a level 5 mecha master, those arrogant new recruits would have been cocky. Lin Miaomiao is not someone to be bullied, nor is she so high-minded as to think that no one can destroy the relationship between her and Ye Hongwen. Only when one's strength far exceeds that of others will they behave themselves. Seeing this, Ye Hongwen did not try to persuade her. He did not know about the agreement between his girlfriend and her best friends. He had just made up his mind not to use contraception in the future and let nature take its course. If he got pregnant, getting married with a child would also be a good idea. In order not to alert the enemy, he did not continue to dwell on the idea and turned to ask about what happened just now. What did you want to ask when you were having lunch just now? Letting go of the issue of children, Lin Miaomiao expressed her happiness. She hadn't had enough of their own world yet, and she didn't want to have another little light bulb. Yi Bingshan was hers. He readily changed the subject. Actually, it's nothing. Did you get a task from the meeting this morning? When Zixi had a weird look in his eyes when he came back, as if he was up to something bad. How could he be up to something bad? Ye Hongwen was at a loss whether to laugh or cry. He was picking people. In mid-August we are escorting a group of senior graduates to the Empire for exchange and study, and we have to select the personnel for the task in advance. Lin Miaomiao's eyes lit up. So we are going to the Empire. It is said that a round trip will take half a month, and we can see the distribution of planets in the Empire along the way. There are also tours to the Emperor Star. Do I meet the requirements? It is said that the Empire still practices an imperial system, and the supreme ruler is the Emperor. Although his power is not as great as that of ancient emperors, his status is very noble. If she can go to the Emperor Star, then wouldn't she have the opportunity to see a living emperor? Unfortunately, Ye Hongwen cruelly shook his head. You don't meet the requirements for the mission. They won't let you go. It's best to leave it alone. She had already become a level 5 mecha master at the age of 25. Song Changte and the others were eager to hide her in the base and keep her away from anyone, lest any fleet or individual get their hands on her. This trip to the Empire was extremely risky. Even Ye Hongwen's request to lead the team was rejected with several reasons. With Lin Miaomiao, they probably didn't even need to give any reasons. A simple soldiers must strictly obey military orders would have been enough to dismiss her. Lin Miaomiao was practically in tears after receiving the answer. Such a great opportunity, she had missed it in vain. A heartbreaking experience that would bring tears to anyone who heard or saw it. In a bad mood, she turned her head, quickly stood up and rushed to the door, saying only, "Training time is about to start, I'm leaving first." Yi Hongwen raised his wrist to glance at it, and instantly his whole body was not good. "It's only 40 minutes, there's no need to go so early," Lin Miaomiao said angrily. "Train more and level up early. When you become a level 6 mecha master, you can raise a chubby little bun to play with." Raising a bun to play with. Yi Hongwen's three views were shattered, and he began to doubt whether he should stick to the status quo, so as not to let his future child be spoiled by his mother. Chapter 612 The Magical Uses of Pastries. First of all, I'm glad you're still having so much fun in the fleet. Military life is pretty boring, after all, Wen Zixi said with a gentle smile. But I regret to tell you something, Lin Miaomiao blinked. What news? Wen Zixi glanced at the communicator, his smile widening. You were late for 3 minutes and 42 seconds this afternoon. So, are you prepared for the punishment? What? She's still late? She knew she had plenty of time, and she even ran all the way here. How could she be late? Lin Miaomiao glanced at the clock unwillingly. It was 4 minutes past 1. Her face darkened. You did it on purpose. She shouldn't have been late when she came in, but Wen Zixi stopped her here to chat, and she ended up being late. What a sad story. How could that be? I wanted to go upstairs with you, but you ended up asking me to stand here and chat, Wen Zixi lamented bitterly. You made me late too. What will the new recruits say about me, their captain? This is a classic case of the villain complaining first. Can training still be enjoyable? Tell me, how can we get away with this time? Lin Miaomiao silently handed over a bag of mung bean cakes. Wen Zixi took the things and put them away, but he smiled awkwardly. Miaomiao, I'm being strict with you because I'm responsible for the team members. Lin Miaomiao was frustrated. Wen Huli's appetite was getting bigger and bigger. In the past, a bag of mung bean cakes would have been enough to get her through, but today the price had increased. In desperation, she took out another bag of pea yellow. Why are they all vegetarian? Wen Zixi put it away with a hint of disgust. Of course the cakes are vegetarian, they're not jerky. Lin Miaomiao twisted her lips. 2 bags of cakes should be enough, right? Wen Zixi said in embarrassment, that won't have a good impact, right? Lin Miaomiao held out her hand with a dull face. Give it back to me. I'm late, so I'm late. The worst that can happen is I'll just have to sleep in the dark room for half a day. The team leaders had the right to confine people, but the time they could be put in was also limited. They couldn't just change their confinement for a few days or a week for a small mistake. So, even if Lin Miaomiao was indeed a few minutes late, the most she'd get would be half a day of detention or a penalty of running 10 or 8 laps, which wasn't stressful at all. Logically, with no pressure, there wouldn't be any need to bribe the captain, but she felt it was too humiliating to be punished in front of so many teammates. It didn't matter to her, but it wouldn't be good if it affected Captain Yi's wisdom. Wen Zixi sighed regretfully. He had even tried to trick the meat jerky, but he hadn't expected the young cook to be so shrewd, preferring to be punished rather than give it to him. Of course, he didn't want to give up what he had already gotten. Seeing that he couldn't trick her anymore, he turned and headed for the elevator. I'll let it go this time, considering you're so sincere and admitting your mistake. Lin Miaomiao looked embarrassed. Her attitude change was so quick, almost like an actor's. Hurry up and get in the elevator, they're still waiting for me, Wen Zixi urged. Gathering his chaotic thoughts, Lin Miaomiao trotted into the elevator. Each team member's floor in the gravity room was different. The trainees mostly gathered in the double gravity room on the first floor. After roll call, they would head up from the double gravity room. If they reached a room they couldn't walk any further, they would stay there to acclimate. Normally, everyone would still be checking in at this time, but Wen Zixi might have arrived early today, so Lin Miaomiao was tricked into taking 2 bags of pastries. Never mind, going up from the first floor is too much trouble anyway. I'll just take a shortcut, Lin Miaomiao consoled herself. The only advantage of taking the elevator was that it gave her direct access to her ultimate floor, so she went straight to the 19th floor, the 38th gravity room. She could easily navigate the 38th gravity room now, so she should have gone up 1 floor. But taking the elevator directly to the 20th floor, she had a different entrance than her friends, and training alone was boring. Lin Miaomiao intended to go up through the 38th gravity room, but before she was halfway there, she was stopped. It wasn't by a teammate, but by Team 1. He was a fair-skinned, slightly shy soldier, one of Shen Yu's veterans. He was over 20 years older than her, almost 50, yet he looked like a recent graduate. He was good-looking and capable, his only short stature being only about 1.7 meters, strictly speaking, 2 or 3 centimeters shorter than Lin Miaomiao. It was said that he had been injured in his youth and had become a vegetable, having been in a coma for 2 years, which affected his development. It was also because of his height that Guan Kanghe developed a low self-esteem and was easily shy when interacting with others. For example, now, even though he had stopped the man, he blushed and was speechless. If it had been anyone else, Lin Miaomiao might have thought he was having an affair, but there was no room for misunderstanding in his words, because he already had someone he liked. After waiting for a long time without him speaking, Lin Miaomiao took the initiative and asked, "Guan Kanghe, what can I do for you?" Guan Kanghe breathed a sigh of relief and nodded several times before whispering, "Miaomiao, what has Likin been busy with these days? Why is she always so rushed at meals? Sometimes I wait ages for her to even show up." Feng Likin was a self-disciplined person, always chewing her food slowly and thoroughly. Unless time demanded, she would take at least a quarter of an hour to finish a bowl of rice. Sometimes, Lin Miaomiao would grow impatient and protest, but she would confidently argue, "Chewing slowly aids digestion and is good for your stomach." The shy Guan Kanghe would seize this opportunity every day to sit next to Feng Likin, blushing and chatting her up. Over time, everyone in the fleet knew who he was attracted to. Feng Likin was gentle, but not the overly maternal or caring type. She disliked shy and introverted men. However, Guan Kanghe was too afraid to confess his feelings, and she couldn't refuse. Even though she was very patient, she couldn't bear it anymore after enduring for a while, so she decided to minimize the time she spent with Guan Kanghe. If you can't afford to offend him, you can always avoid him. After making up her mind, Feng Likin didn't care about chewing her food slowly. She would wolf down the prepared meals every day, or take a clean lunchbox and pour the food into it and go back to the dormitory to eat. Although the robot in the cafeteria does not provide a takeaway service, if everyone brings their own lunchboxes, it is not impossible to pour the food into the lunchbox and take it away. Lin Miaomiao looked at Guan Kanghe with sympathy, who still didn't know that the beauty was avoiding him, and said more subtly, "Likin has been busy recently, and the food is packed up and taken away, so you don't have to wait for her." Guan Kanghe's emotional intelligence was a bit slow, and he didn't hear the implicit meaning. When he heard that Feng Likin was in trouble, he immediately became anxious. Is something wrong with her? Does she need help? No, no. Lin Miaomiao waved his hand to reject his kindness. That's her own business, she can handle it. Chapter 613 Leaked News. Lin Miaomiao's rejection didn't discourage Guan Kanghe. He felt his intentions were sincere, and the person he loved was so gentle, there was no reason she would refuse his help. "Why don't you ask Likin for me?" Guan Kanghe said weakly. Maybe she needs my help. Even if he was introverted, he was still a capable level 5 mecha pilot. Feng Likin was only a level 4, so there was no way she would refuse his advances. Guan Kanghe was also a very conflicted person. He was self-conscious about his height, yet stubbornly believed that strength was paramount in this world. Therefore, he wouldn't confess his feelings to anyone he liked, believing that if he extended an olive branch, the other person should actively accept him. Feng Likin's avoidance of him was actually simple and clear. He was aware of it, but he refused to acknowledge it, so he tried to dig her out under the guise of helping her. However, he didn't expect that even if he gave in, Lin Miaomiao wouldn't help him, which infuriated him. Was everything he had to offer denied him just because he wasn't as tall as others? If Lin Miaomiao knew what he was thinking, she would have righteously told him, "You're overthinking it." Guan Kanghe concealed his feelings so well that Lin Miaomiao couldn't discern his thoughts and could only helplessly say, "Thank you for your concern. Likin just had a personal matter. If I could help, I would have told you long ago." Not wanting to argue any further, after this polite remark, she simply walked forward, not wanting to pay any further attention. Guan Kanghe could clearly hear the meaning in Lin Miaomiao's words. He hesitated for a moment, but ultimately didn't dare to press the issue. Furthermore, he struggled to navigate the 38 times gravity chamber, and couldn't possibly catch up with a person striding away ahead of him. Reluctantly, he gave up on the idea of chasing after them. Even though he gave up, the thought lingered in his mind. He still felt that chasing someone as a level 5 mecha pilot shouldn't have ended like this. He blamed Lin Miaomiao for not considering their sisterly bond with Feng Lican and refusing to help connect them. A hint of resentment welled up in his heart. Lin Miaomiao strode away, unaware of his slightly twisted thoughts, only to breathe a sigh of relief. She truly didn't know how to interact with someone like Guan Kanghe. Having been delayed earlier, once she entered the 40x gravity chamber, Lin Miaomiao realized her companions had already drifted further away. She had to continue on her own. Luckily, she'd trained alone plenty of times, so she didn't call out to those ahead to wait. Instead, her movements caught the attention of those ahead, who stopped and waited for her. As she inched closer, Lin Miaomiao's lips curled up. "Why did you think of waiting for me today?" She usually lingered downstairs, chatting with Lican and Ozin. By the time she came up, she'd lag behind. Those on her floor would wait for her at first, but then, noticing her ability to catch up, they stopped waiting altogether. "I've always seen you handle pressure well, always walking faster than us. You'd catch up in under an hour, so waiting wasn't a big deal." Yizu's eyes were filled with envy and resentment. "Then why were you waiting today?" Lin Miaomiao knew that although Yizu was much older than she was simple-minded and spoke her mind. Even if it didn't sound pleasant, she didn't mean any harm. So she didn't get angry. "Of course I have something to ask you," Yizu said bluntly. "I heard that this year's mission to escort the exchange students to the Empire has been assigned to Shenyu." The others remained silent, but their eager eyes revealed their deep concern. Rumors had already spread, and Lin Miaomiao, not bothering to hide it, simply nodded. "Yes, the captains have been selecting their candidates these past few days." "Great," the team members present rubbed their hands, ready to show off in front of their captains. "I've never left the Federation since I was a child. I have to seize this opportunity." Lin Miaomiao watched the excitement leisurely. She hadn't had the chance to participate, and presumably the others were no different. The more anticipation there was now, the greater the disappointment would likely be once the results were announced. After all, they were in the same fleet and often trained together, so it wouldn't be good to be too harsh. She finally warned, "The Empire keeps sending spies to the Federation, which shows how ambitious they are. It's very dangerous there. What are you afraid of?" Yizu shrugged. "Even when I joined the fleet, I knew my future wouldn't be stable. Anyway, I'm not married, so I don't need to worry about my future." Lin Miaomiao felt depressed. Yizu was also a peculiar person. Nearing 50, she had no plans to marry, and she was obsessed with becoming a senior mecha pilot, even sacrificing her right to be a mother to achieve this goal. Many older men in the fleet also tried to pursue her, but she was unmoved, rejecting them all. Worst of all, she was very sharp-tongued, using a variety of excuses to reject people, ranging from height, appearance, to bad habits, until they were completely embarrassed and infuriated. If someone was too shameless to be afraid of her sharp tongue, she had another trick up her sleeve: challenge them to a fight. If they could defeat her mecha, she would give them another chance. Most men with greater power than her were married, so why would they pursue her? After all her trouble, no one dared to pursue her anymore. Speaking of which, Guan Kanghe, who had stopped her earlier, seemed to have pursued Yizu before, but was rejected because he was too short. Perhaps his slightly twisted personality stemmed from this incident. Ultimately, it was someone else's business, so Lin Miaomiao didn't bother to delve into it. Seeing that Yizu was determined to join the Empire, she stopped trying to discourage her. While the higher-ups' plan was for the fleet's benefit, it also felt heartless from another perspective. The fleet was like a family, and officers should treat everyone equally. Those selected for the mission seemed entrusted with important tasks, but in reality, they were mere cannon fodder. "I guess I'll never reach a leadership position," Lin Miaomiao muttered softly. She was too soft-hearted to sacrifice anyone. If she were in charge, she would probably lead the team herself, lay out the facts, and let everyone choose whether to join or not. Lin Miaomiao thought of Yi Hongwen. Although he still had a cold face when he talked about this, one could see some guilt hidden deep inside. After hearing this news, she would definitely not hide it. If her teammates knew about it, they would definitely feel bad, and some of them might even refuse to go on the mission. Yi Hongwen knew this, but he still told the truth. Perhaps he also wanted to give them a chance to refuse. If many people were unwilling to go in the end, he would definitely participate in the mission in person. "Little cook, what are you daydreaming about?" Yizu suddenly shouted, waking up the daydreaming person. "It's okay," Lin Miaomiao responded casually. But she had made up her mind in her heart that if Yi Hongwen wanted to go, she would definitely follow him. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 614, each has his own thoughts. If you're alright, hurry up, Yizu urged. I have something else to ask you, Lin Miaomiao blinked. The news had been delivered, the necessary reminders had been given. Was there anything else she needed to say? She had doubts in her heart, but she still said, just tell me what you want to say. Yizu spoke with a very elder sisterly demeanor. You won't be participating in this mission, will you? I don't know. Lin Miaomiao shook her head. Although Yi Hongwen said she definitely wouldn't be selected, the matter hadn't been announced yet, and no one knew the final outcome. You definitely won't be allowed to go, Yizu said with conviction. It's obviously dangerous. Even if the captain is willing, the lieutenant commander won't allow it. That's right, the little cook definitely can't go, the others echoed. There were thousands of people in the fleet, but only a few had the potential to become senior mecha operators. Yi Hongwen and Lin Miaomiao were Shen Yu's hope. As long as they could produce a young, high-level mecha operator, Shen Yu's future would be limitless. Lin Miaomiao was embarrassed. Why were all these people saying that? Did she really have no chance? In reality, she felt she was a nobody. Even if she went on a mission, as long as she piloted the spare level 4 mech, the Imperials wouldn't notice anything was wrong. She expressed her opinion, only to be met with unanimous ridicule. Little cook, you're so happy you've reached level 5, right? The Empire has so many spies, who knows if your information has been sent back, you might get caught in a beauty trap, and then be thrown away like a meat bun, never to return. A 25-year-old level 5 mech pilot, even the Imperial Prince would be tempted, Yizu joked. Sister Yizu, what are you talking about? Lin Miaomiao said righteously. I already have a man, how could I be tempted by someone else? Yeah, she's clearly been distracted by love, yet she's still able to reach level 5 so early. Yizu felt a pang of bitterness. She had worked so hard for so many years, but she couldn't even compare to a girl over 20 years her junior. It was truly heartbreaking. Lin Miaomiao looked up at the sky. Well, talent is crucial for a mecha pilot. Hard work alone isn't enough. I think Sister Yixu should focus her hopes on the next generation, setting aside some time for training, finding a man, and having children. That's the real deal. Yixu's face darkened. Look how cocky this little jerk was, even bringing up her not wanting to get married. Cook, let's practice together for the mecha battle later. You want to bully me? Lin Miaomiao's eyes widened in fear, then drooped. Fight me, that's all you can do now. After the gravity training, everyone moved to the virtual network room. Once on the virtual platform, Yixu unceremoniously pulled her into the battle room. After years of training and actual combat, Lin Miaomiao had become proficient in mecha piloting. Her rapport with Yixu had reached 90%, and she wasn't afraid of fighting Yixu. The two mechas engaged in a battle of cold and hot weapons for an hour, with Yizu, the more experienced, emerging victorious. Even as the victor, Yizu's mech was in a state of disrepair. Its legs and right arm were shattered, its head was half cut off, and its cabin was dented in 3 places. As for Lin Miaomiao's mech, it was blasted to pieces. After a protracted battle, the two waited in the hall for their mechas to repair themselves. Both mechas had sustained devastating damage, and a standard refresh was useless. A complete data refresh was required. While waiting, they chatted with their companions in the hall. Lin Miaomiao was horrified to discover that the information she had revealed in the 40x gravity chamber had become widely known. She had only been there for 10 minutes, and hundreds of people had already arrived to inquire about the situation. Most were asking about the selection criteria and the number of players, hoping to secure a spot. A few, however, politely expressed their lack of ability and wanted to avoid burdening the others, hoping to have her intercede. Those who made it into the fleet were no fools, and naturally knew the risks of this mission were immense. Yet, many were willing to go. This wasn't out of self-confidence or a sense of safety, but rather a desire to contribute their own small part to the fleet. Lin Miaomiao lamented that the majority of those willing to go were over 40 and still at the level of a 4th-tier mech operator. They knew their talent wouldn't allow them to advance, So they decided to join this mission, which offered both the high risk and the high reward. The fleets that had escorted exchange students in previous years returned with much fanfare. Each member received a medal for outstanding mech operators and a generous bonus, making it much easier to find a job after retirement. Not everyone could stay in the fleet until they were too old to pilot mechas. The lack of veterans in Shen Yu's recent careers stemmed from a lack of personnel. However, starting this year, the fleet's population has returned to normal. In 2 or 3 years, those 3rd and 4th tier mech operators who haven't advanced in over a decade should be able to retire and return home. Of course, their willingness to go wasn't solely driven by the benefits, it was also because they'd been with the fleet for so long that they'd formed a bond with their teammates, almost like family, willing to sacrifice themselves to keep the fleet's elite mecha pilots. As for those unwilling to go, they were generally new recruits, less than 2 years into their service. They held little affection for Shen Yu. Young and self-important, they felt their futures were infinitely bright, and they were unwilling to participate in a mission so risky. Lin Miaomiao gently reassured the veterans who volunteered. The captains have their own criteria for selecting whom to send. I don't know what they use. Don't overthink it, just wait for the news, she bluntly responded to those unwilling to take the risk and offered excuses. A soldier's duty is to obey orders. I'm just following orders. What's the use of asking me for help? Lin Miaomiao was the captain's fiancée, and these people, recognizing this, approached her for help. However, their plea was met with resistance, a situation the fresh-out-of-school recruits couldn't handle. Someone immediately hinted at her dislike for the new recruits, fearing they would surpass her. What good are her qualifications? Her character is terrible. I wonder why a wise captain would fall for such a pretentious woman. The person who said this was this year's new recruit. Lin Miaomiao didn't recognize her, but she looked familiar. After a long moment of reflection, she finally remembered. Wasn't she the female soldier who had intercepted her fiancé that afternoon? Why are you here? Did the captain tell you to ask the captain for punishment? Lin Miaomiao glared at her coldly. Do you really think the captain has such a bad memory that he doesn't remember him giving a female soldier a week's worth of confinement? How would you know? Weren't you already gone when the captain said that? Bai Yuhan glared at her in horror. Yi Hongwen was always busy, so he had no time to truly care whether a new recruit had received his punishment. However, he felt that this person needed to be punished, so he texted Lin Miaomiao to assign the responsibility of supervision. The reason why the captain didn't tell Bai Yuhan directly was very simple. He wanted to see whether the punished person would accept the punishment honestly. If he did, it would be fine. But if not, he would impose an additional 3 days of confinement. Chapter 615, Failed Attempt to Throw Dirty Water. Bai Yuhan's words had struck a nerve, and one could imagine the regret she felt. Most upsetting of all was the fact that their captain, GK, had been watching from the sidelines. Instead of showing any sympathy, he even smirked at her misfortune. 2 months into the fleet, she's already been sentenced to 10 days of solitary confinement. You can't imagine a recruit this tough. The onlookers roared with laughter, nodding in agreement at this accurate assessment. Lin Miaomiao sighed softly. Judging by the reactions, it was clear this female soldier didn't seem to have the best character. Many of the teammates laughing heartily were from Squad 5. It's all your fault, Bai Yuhan shouted, pointing at Lin Miaomiao angrily. I just said a few words to the captain, and you treat me like this. The laughter died down, and everyone looked at the accused with suspicion. Only serious offenses warranted a week of solitary confinement. Bai Yuhan might be a bit annoying, but she hadn't done anything wrong. Why was she punished by the captain just for an hour during her lunch break? You're so shameless you're blaming others for your own mistakes, Yu Zixin blurted out. You're so shameless you're seducing someone's fiancé and you still dare to say that? Why don't you just fly off the handle? Bai Yuhan bit her lip. The person in front of her was as close to Lin Miaomiao as a sister, so it was normal for them to speak up for her. But she just couldn't accept it. Why was everyone sticking up for this cold-faced woman when she was clearly prettier? No, she couldn't give in like this. Even if she had to go to solitary confinement, she had to discredit the person who was in her way first. As long as she succeeded now, even if the captain tried to explain things later, he would just think she was bullying. You're her friend, so of course I'm speaking up for her, Bai Yuhan said, a calculating look in her eyes, her face filled with dejection. I just admire the captain. You don't have to hurt me like this. The dejection on her face was real. She remembered Yi Hongwen's coldness and indifference just now, how unmoved by her. Could she be worse than this expressionless woman? It was precisely because her loneliness was so realistic that many people believed her words and looked at Lin Miaomiao with disdain. The veterans who knew Lin Miaomiao well would certainly not be misled. Seeing that the new recruits who joined the fleet in the past 2 years had misunderstood, they couldn't help but get angry. A bunch of idiots, they believe it just because someone cries, Yu Hongbo said disdainfully. The boss has a special liking for the young cook and doesn't care about the bad peach blossoms around him. The young cook won't be jealous of these messy things, Ren Jiao snorted, they are so stupid. The boss has always been firm in his will. How could he punish someone for no reason? I'm afraid this girl has made some mistakes that you don't know about. The veteran team members stepped forward, either scolding Bai Yuhan or praising Lin Miaomiao. Most of the new recruits began to waver. Bai Yuhan couldn't stand the pressure anymore. You are talking nonsense, I just wore some jewelry, it's not a big deal. Why should I be punished so severely? Lin Miaomiao rolled her eyes. With such a little skill, he still wanted to throw dirty water on her. He was not as good as Sheng Ruinan at the beginning. It's not fun at all. Not wanting to continue to tangle with people whose level was too low, she said a little impatiently, you are good at confusing right and wrong and avoiding the important issues. Why don't you go to Xingxi Circle to develop? It's really a waste of talent to come to Shenyu. But Bai Yuhan didn't think she was avoiding the important issues. It was just wearing some jewelry. How could it be so serious? This punishment was unfair. But the veterans didn't believe it, not even GK, the captain of Squad 5. The captain is fair and would never give you a week's worth of confinement just for wearing jewelry. There must be another reason. Indeed there is another reason, Lin Miaomiao said, looking at Bai Yuhan with a half-smile. You omitted the most important thing. That's why you were severely punished. What do you mean? Bai Yuhan tried to search her memory, trying to find the sentence she had overlooked, but before she could find it, someone else revealed the answer. Lin Miaomiao said, the military uniform is the face of every soldier. Once you join the army, you should be proud of your uniform. You may not modify or damage your uniform without permission, unless it was damaged by the enemy in battle. Can that slim and playful outfit you're wearing still be called a uniform? GK was shocked. She hadn't noticed anything wrong with Bai Yuhan's uniform yesterday. Could it be that Bai Yuhan had modified it herself last night? It had to be said that GK had revealed the truth. After months of wearing baggy military uniforms, the ever-present Bai Yuhan, a fashion-conscious woman, couldn't stand them anymore. So she came up with a brilliant idea, to make minor alterations, transforming the unsightly uniform into something stylish. Bai Yuhan, having learned some tailoring skills, was quite adept at altering clothing. In a single evening, she had transformed the uniform into something stunning, and even wore it out triumphantly. Logically, the members of Squad 5 and the captain should have noticed the alteration, but they were too busy training to notice her attire. Then she ran into Yu Hongwen. Alright, since it's just uniform damage, 10 days or even a month of confinement is nothing, GK sneered, her mood truly irritated. Her subordinates had been tampering with uniforms, and GK had been captain for 3 or 4 years, yet she'd never been so careless. Now that the captain had caught her, she was afraid she'd be in the office for a lecture. Bai Yuhan was stunned. She had no idea such a minor matter as altering a uniform would become such a big deal, with such severe penalties. It all felt like a dream. Captain, I know I was wrong. Bai Yuhan's tears fell. She regretted her recklessness. Although she was young, she bent down and stood beside GK, begging constantly, I was just too afraid of being laughed at by everyone, so I didn't tell you. Don't be angry. The punishment of confinement was inevitable, but she couldn't be locked up like this. She had to make the captain calm down, otherwise she would not have an easy time when she came out of the confinement room. GK has always been a person who can't tolerate any sand in her eyes. She just pretended not to hear Bai Yuhan's pleading, the fun is over, it's okay to continue training. Don't let me catch anyone slacking off. Most of the team members in the hall were not from the 5th team, but they could still see her often during daily training. They also knew that she was not a person who could be joked with, so they left tactfully when they heard her driving them away. Bai Yuhan stirred, wanting to sneak away with the others, but GK stopped her. You've done something wrong, and you must accept your punishment. Even if you get away with it today, you'll still have to go to the dark room tomorrow to reflect on your mistakes. GK felt uncomfortable with a teammate who was smearing others after doing something wrong. He was filled with rage and couldn't wait any longer, so he ordered the culprit to log off immediately. If you keep dawdling, your confinement will be even longer. After throwing down a warning, GK was the first to log off the virtual network. Chapter 616, It's So Dark. GK's insistence forced Bai Yuan to log off the virtual network, reluctantly but with a resentful glance at Lin Miaomiao before she did. Damn, so arrogant even after doing something wrong. Yu Hongbo's face turned grim. It turned out that hiring people depended on character. He shouldn't rush to expand and should be more cautious in hiring people. Who's to blame for her beauty? Some people just couldn't see straight, Bai Jin said with a disdainful curl of her lips. She's beautiful? Who said that? Are you blind? Liu Yifei shook his head. With her looks, she can't even compare to the young cook. Lin Miaomiao squinted at him. Are you saying I'm ugly? Liu Yifei was dumbfounded. He'd only said it casually, never expecting it to be misinterpreted in this way. The mecha was successfully restored, and Yizu dragged him to open the battle room. Although Shen Yu had gained several level 5 mecha masters over the past 5 years, they likely still only trained with the same few. No one wanted to spar with those brutal captains. The fight lasted until dinner time. When the bell rang, Lin Miaomiao immediately exited the battle room. Yizu chased out to protest. The winner's almost decided, and you're leaving like that? Lin Miaomiao put on a sullen face as she packed up her battered mech. It's just training. Winning isn't that important. Missing dinner would be a shame. There's still 10 minutes left. Yizu shrugged. Virtual games always give everyone a 10-minute heads-up reminder, just in case players get so caught up in the action that they forget the time. You can continue, Lin Miaomiao said, and then she logged off. With her opponent gone, Yizu had no choice but to log off with a stern face. She didn't want to miss dinner either. Lin Miaomiao hurried to the kitchen. Yi Hongwen was already waiting by the door. Seeing her approach, they entered the cafeteria together. For the past 5 years, unless they had something else to do, they'd always eaten together. Because the mealtime was only half an hour, it was easy to get together. Why are you a little late today? Yi Hongwen asked. Lin Miaomiao raised her hand to check the time, then said with a slightly awkward smile, it's only 2 minutes late. Why are you as fussy as Wenzixi? Like him? Yi Hongwen raised an eyebrow. I've screwed you over again. The tone of his words wasn't questioning, but rather firm, as if he'd witnessed it firsthand. No wonder Wenzixi and Liu Yifei had fought so hard to get Lin Miaomiao on board. They just wanted to use their positions to prepare something delicious. Sadly, the young cook had been so busy in recent years that she'd barely had time to cook for herself. With no other options, Wenzixi resorted to extorting her for pastries. I'm afraid the pastries won't satisfy his appetite anymore, Lin Miaomiao complained bitterly. He said today it's all vegetarian, no meat. Yi Hongwen's face darkened. You have such a big appetite. Aren't you afraid of being stuffed? I'll help you get revenge next time. Wenzixi, who was standing in the middle of window number 2, suddenly sneezed twice and looked around. Who could be thinking about him at this hour? Lin Miaomiao was happy to have received the promise. She pulled her beloved fiancé into the kitchen, brought the dishes that Lolly had left for them, and walked directly to the restaurant on the 3rd floor. There were too many team members, and the 2nd floor should have been full by now, so they decided not to join in the fun. There were not many people on the 3rd floor. What surprised Lin Miaomiao was that most of the people here were familiar people. Even Fang Licken, Yu Zixin and the other 2 were here. She ran to join the table without hesitation. Miaomiao, why are you here? Yu Zixin stared at her in surprise. The boss's icy aura was getting stronger and stronger. They would be frozen if they sat together. I can't come. Lin Miaomiao rolled her eyes at him. They were good friends, but he dared to dislike her fiancé. Yu Zixin touched his nose and smiled. Of course I can come. I just haven't eaten at the same table with you for too long, and I miss it. Lin Miaomiao rolled her eyes at him again, lowered her head and ignored him. Eating was the most important thing at this time. The table ate their dinner in silence. Once they were fully fed and satisfied, Lin Miaomiao remembered the moment her teammates besieged her, and she couldn't help but share it. After spending a few years on Shenyu, I always felt like I couldn't figure out what everyone was thinking. Now I realize they all treat this place like home. Yu Zixin was also touched, but he still said stubbornly, We've been in the fleet for a few years, and we're all like family. It's normal for them to be like this. However, not everyone can treat the fleet like home, and not many are willing to sacrifice for their families. Shen Yu's team members are all young. Aside from the two deputy captains and Yao Hong, everyone else is under 50, with a long life ahead of them. Logically, not many people should be willing to sacrifice themselves. But the reality was beyond Yi Hongwen's expectations. He pondered for a moment and said slowly, "Since most people are willing to go, let the captains choose. As for those who don't want to go, just cross them out when the list is announced." Zhu Chen frowned. These people are so selfish. Are we really going to give them what they want? With a role model, there's no guarantee that future recruits won't follow suit. A soldier who fears danger is not a good soldier. If war breaks out, such a mentality will make them passive. Yi Hongwen, however, didn't care. He didn't think it was a big deal. If they care about their teammates, they won't fear danger. If they don't care, forcing them to go will be detrimental. Relationships need to be cultivated. It's normal for recruits who have been in the fleet for only a year or two to have no sense of belonging to the fleet to behave this way. What if they've been there for 4 or 5 years and still don't feel a sense of belonging? Lin Miaomiao thought of the junior schoolmate from earlier. She joined a year later than them, but she had no sense of belonging to the fleet. The junior student said, "I'm here to gain experience in the fleet. My dad's company is waiting for me to take over, so how could I possibly participate in such a dangerous mission? So, please don't choose me for this mission, or I'll have to apply for a transfer to the fleet." To her, Shen Yu was just a passing scene, a beautiful sight she wouldn't cherish, and her teammates in the fleet were merely passing visitors. Damn! How could we have such a shameless junior student? Yu Zixin clenched his fists. What's her name? I'll give her a beating if I run into her. She was a disgrace to the graduates of the Miluolan Second Military Academy. No need to beat her up, Yi Hongwen said calmly, emotionless. She's been here for 5 years now. Let's get her transferred in the second half of the year. There was no point keeping someone whose heart wasn't in the fleet. It was better to let her go sooner rather than later, to prevent her from causing trouble for the rest of the fleet. She wasn't the only one. Among the members selected for this mission, those who publicly expressed their unwillingness to go would be given priority for transfer after completing 5 years. After understanding what he meant, Yu Zixin blurted out, "Boss, you are so wicked." Chapter 617 Miluolan's Tribulation. Lin Miaomiao had initially assumed Yi Hongwen was soft-hearted in allowing her to spread the news, but now she realized it was simply a character test, filtering out those who weren't up to par. Yu Zixin, who had accidentally scolded the captain, couldn't sit still anymore and fled with Zhu Chen between his legs. Feng Liken calmly said she had something to do and left. Checking the time, it wasn't long before evening training. Too lazy to run back to the dormitory, Lin Miaomiao suggested sitting in the pavilion in the center of the lake. It was lotus season, and the scenery would be nice. Just as the two of them left the cafeteria, Yi Hongwen's video call rang. The military dispatch operator, who was dispatching missions, had a worried look on his face. "Captain Yi, Miralin planet is under attack by interstellar pirates. Due to their sheer numbers, the defenders are nearly overwhelmed. Please send support as quickly as possible." "Got it. I'll send you the details later," Yi Hongwen said calmly, hanging up the phone. Lin Miaomiao's face paled. Miralin was under attack. Were the pirates crazy? She wanted to ask something but remained silent. Asking questions at this time would only cause more trouble. Yi Hongwen didn't have time to comfort his fiancée. He dialed Song Changtae's video and asked Deputy Captain Song to sound the emergency assembly alarm. Soon, a shrill alarm sounded in the inner area of Shenyu, followed by a test voice that rarely used the central broadcast. "Hello, hello." After several consecutive test sounds, Song Changtae's gentle voice began to issue orders. "All Metro divisions above level 4, please rush to the waiting fleet area immediately. There's an urgent mission that needs to be dispatched." Important things should be said 3 times, so Song Changtae shouted 3 times in succession, and the central broadcast returned to silence. At this time, Lin Miaomiao and Yi Hongwen had already crossed the lake and arrived at the waiting fleet area. Before they even entered the gate, Liu Yifei, Luo Chang, and the other team leaders came to greet them. "Boss, what's the mission this time?" Yi Hongwen asked as they approached. "Milo Lan is under attack by a pirate fleet. There are too many of them, and the defenders can't repel them. Isn't that Huanayu fleet's territory?" Even the Legion's second fleet couldn't hold it. How many pirates must there be? Liu Yifei was shocked. The detailed information had just been sent to him, and Yi Hongwen, unsure of the exact answer, silently clicked on it. After a quick glance, he clicked forward and sent the information to the 2 lieutenants and 9 team leaders. Oh my god, Mingling and Zhuai have joined forces. They've really put a lot of effort into attacking Milo Lan, Liu Yifei said with a sigh. These 2 are both top 10 interstellar pirate fleets. No wonder Huan Yu had requested assistance. Lin Miaomiao bit her lip and asked, why are they attacking Milo Lan? Are they tired of living? Milo Lan is the second most prosperous planet in the Giant Star region, and home to the vast fleet, the Huan Yu fleet. Logically, pirates would avoid such a place. They're not being reckless, Luo Cheng said disdainfully. The Empire wants us to cause chaos. If they destroy Milo Lan, they can withdraw from the Empire's sphere of influence. Imperial agents had infiltrated these 2 pirate groups and directed their attack on Milo Lan. With their strength, they could have taken that prosperous planet by surprise. If the Federation's undercover agents hadn't notified the Huan Yu Corps in advance, I'm afraid things would have gone as the Empire hoped. Damn it. Those idiots in the Federation are even more resourceful than us. It took us over a decade to infiltrate those large pirate groups, and they've managed to control 2, Luo Cheng fumed. Yi Hongwen's communicator beeped again. He clicked on the latest news, and a chill instantly emanated from him. What's wrong, boss? Wen Zixi asked, frowning. We need to get there as soon as possible. We just got word that the undercover agent has been exposed. Yi Hongwen glanced at the people in the waiting area. Seeing the sea of people, he knew the team members were almost assembled. Time is urgent. Let's board the ship and set off. We'll check in once we're aboard. Those who haven't made it will stay behind. As he spoke, he strode towards the boarding passage. Song Changte and Lian Hu followed without hesitation. Lin Miaomiao hesitated for a moment before returning to the 3rd team. She always moved with a team on missions. As soon as she returned to the 3rd team, she saw Feng Liken and Yu Zixin and her husband. Their eyes lit up when they saw her approaching. Miaomiao, what happened? We heard that pirates are attacking Malulan planet. Is this a joke? Lin Miaomiao shook her head, and the others' faces paled instantly. Their home was Malulan, and they had family and friends there. If something happened there, they wouldn't be able to bear it. Don't worry, with Huan Yu's men here, they'll be fine, Zhu Chen said, his words either to comfort them or himself, perhaps a bit of both. The first squadron had already begun boarding the ships. With over 3,000 men, they couldn't fit on 1 or 2 warships, so they were divided into teams. The first 3 teams would board the main ship, and the next 6 teams would each board a warship. Shen Yu actually had more than 4 warships, but they had few crew members capable of operating them, especially the lead pilots. The newly recruited pilots were completely incapable of independent operation and needed to train under the supervision of experienced pilots. This mission was urgent, so the trainee pilots had to step aside and observe while the experienced pilots took the helm, speeding towards Milo Lan Star at top speed. To facilitate the rescue fleet's rapid march, the military had cleared the shipping lanes between Milo Lan Star and Shaoyin Star. Even at full speed, there would be no danger. As for those ships that refused to evacuate to adjacent shipping lanes, a collision would be in vain. Even a passenger ship full of passengers was not as important as the lives of Milo Lan Star's over 100,000 people. The full speed was incredibly efficient. Milo Lan, which usually took 4 or 5 hours to reach, arrived in just 2. The men aboard the Shen Yu had already spotted the dozens of warships engaged in a fierce battle outside Milo Lan. What a massive display, Luo Cheng muttered to himself. I think I saw the mist-breaking fleet. They're actually faster than us. After all, the Shen Yu has been stranded for decades, and much of its history has been lost. When Zixi pursed his lips. He had been in the Shen Yu for over a decade, and before Yi Hongwen arrived, he had been unwilling to accept it. The Shen Yu was already a fleet on the brink of collapse, and his revenge and ambitions were impossible to achieve here. Then, with Yi Hongwen's arrival, the Shen Yu, under his leadership, soared again. But things that had been tormented couldn't be brought back so quickly. For example, in an emergency assembly, it only took 10 minutes for the Garden Fleet to muster, while they took just as long. Liu Yifei patted his shoulder and said casually, background is not something you can eat. If you don't have it, then don't have it. Besides, after 10 or 20 years, Who dares to say that we don't have it? When Zixi chuckled, yeah, we'll see later, Zhao Cheng turned his head impatiently. What are you guys talking about here? We've already arrived at the battlefield. Are we going to fight or not? Chapter 618, Killing the Prince. Of course we fight. Anyone who doesn't is a fool, the captain shouted in unison. The battlefield was right before their eyes. How could they continue to hide like turtles if they didn't fight? But Zhao Cheng wouldn't listen to their orders. His eyes were fixed on Yu Hongwen, who was staring at the monitoring screen with a cold face. Captain, please give us your instructions. Liu Yifei curled his lips. This old Zhao was getting more and more unreasonable. Since their instructions were useless, why did he still ask them? Wasn't he just teasing them? Yu Hongwen observed carefully for a few minutes, and then discussed with the two captains before giving the order to attack. The warships from Pao are attacking from this side, and Huanayu's are inside Milulan. To avoid accidental injuries, we will go around to the other side, Zhao Cheng responded crisply and immediately contacted the chief pilots of several ships. After conveying the captain's instructions, he activated the color change function, turning the outer layer of the warship black, and quietly circled to the other side of the battlefield. The two pirate groups went all out this time, deploying a total of 34 warships. On the warship side, Huanayu had 16, Pao had 10, and Shanai was the worst off, with only 4. Even in terms of sheer numbers, the pirates had the upper hand. Fortunately, their warships were of varying quality, with a dozen or so older models, no match for the warships in both offensive and defensive capabilities. Huanayu initially faced a disadvantage in their solar defense against the two pirate groups' warships. Several of their secondary ships' defenses were shattered, and the planet's defenses had been depleted by 50% of their energy. Had they not received a warning earlier and boarded their ships beforehand to defend the planet, they would have been trapped inside, watching the pirate fleet attack. Once the defenses were breached, a dozen warships wouldn't have been enough to protect the inhabitants. After nearly 2 hours of perseverance, reinforcements finally arrived. While their warships were outnumbered by the pirate fleet, everyone remained confident of victory. Silently, the 4 warships skirted the frenzied battle, appearing on the other side. Unnoticed by the pirates, they unleashed their most powerful assault on the heavily damaged pirate warships hiding in the rear. Boom! Several dazzling mushroom clouds, accompanied by a thunderous explosion, dazzled everyone. The battlefield fell silent for a few seconds, but then returned to life. The warships continued their ferocious exchange, though the pirates had lost several ships and gained a few more. Aboard the Pirate Alliance's flagship, a handsome, sinister, black-haired young man crushed a communicator in his hand. That's the one that sent them the message, right? Are you all idiots? You couldn't even find an unfamiliar number. His initially gentle tone turned bitter, and the burly figures kneeling on the ground trembled, not daring to utter a word in protest. Not far away lay a frail teenager, about 10 years old. His face was pale and bloody, and blood streamed from several wounds, yet his eyes remained bright and spirited. Hearing the deep dissatisfaction and anger in the evil young man's words, he smiled, then opened his cracked lips and coughed twice with difficulty. Qin Yu Hong, you finally can't show off anymore, right? Facing the joint siege of several fleets, do you think you can still escape? Qin Yu Hong's eyes fiercely, and he stood up, walked over to the young man and kicked him hard several times, especially kicking him in the wound. The young man was already uncomfortable from the excessive blood loss, and the kicks made him dizzy and speechless. Looking at his miserable appearance, Qin Yu Hong smiled smugly. No matter how many people there are, they can't hurt me at all. But you are different. After today, I'm afraid there will be no one like you in the world. I'm willing to die, even if I didn't let your conspiracy come true, the young man said intermittently. What's more, the young man's words suddenly stopped, and his eyes closed weakly. What's more, Qin Yu Hong squatted down and shook him unwillingly. You haven't even finished your words yet, don't I? Speak. Bright red blood gathered into a small river on the ground. The young man lying in the blood had no trace of life left, but he suddenly sat up, raised his left hand hidden under his body, and stabbed the sharp dagger into the evil young man's heart. What's more, I have the Emperor's prince as my support, so I won't suffer any loss. The young man said this with all his strength and closed his eyes again. This time, his breath disappeared. No one cared whether the young man was dead or alive. The strong men who were kneeling on the ground had already climbed up and surrounded Qin Yu Hong. Your Highness, what's wrong with you? Your Highness, You can't die, Your Highness." The strong men pulled their prince with their hands and feet, shouting continuously, but no one thought of sending him to the infirmary. Qin Yu Hong's mouth trickled with blood as he breathed faintly. The repair chamber, get it, the repair chamber. He had been so high and mighty just moments before, never realizing that in the blink of an eye, he, too, would be on the verge of death. His men were so clueless, they didn't even know how to get the repair chamber. "Woozy, get the repair chamber," a burly man shouted, then burst into tears. "Your Highness, you must not be in any harm, here it is, help get His Highness in." Woozy frantically pressed the green button. Then, horrified, "Oh no, Woozy, you idiot. How could you activate the repair chamber when His Highness hasn't even been put in?" The bearded man scolded his companion. "Stop yelling. Stop it now. It doesn't matter if there's no one inside to stop it." The dark-faced man squeezed forward, reaching out to press the glaring red button. The bearded man quickly spoke to stop him. "We need to wait. If we force a stop right after it starts, the machine will short-circuit." However, the dark-faced man was too quick. The machine roared and stopped completely. He pressed the yellow start button again, but the repair chamber refused to respond. Even though he was a prince of the empire, Qin Yu Hong was still just an ordinary person. He didn't have a heart disease or was invulnerable. Moreover, he had a group of subordinates who betrayed their master. Qin Yu Hong, his heart pierced, never waited for the repair chamber to arrive, and he reluctantly breathed his last. After Qin Yu Hong went west, the only strong man who didn't speak stomped his feet and yelled in a sissy voice, "Oh, what's wrong with you? The prince was killed by you. What should we do?" "Qin Xiaoya, shut up," the bearded man said with a fierce look in his eyes. "It's all your fault. The prince hasn't been hurt yet and you're crying there, you unlucky star. You can't blame me for this. It was obviously Halion who broke the repair cabin. Don't try to push the blame on me when you caused trouble." "Shut up, you're so noisy." Halion stared at Qin Xiaoya gloomily. "I want to vomit every time I hear you talk," Wu Zi said timidly. "Don't quarrel. Shouldn't we think about how to escape now?" Although the emperor has many sons, Qin Yu Hong is not the most favored one, but he is his biological son after all. How can the emperor let them go when the prince dies? Chapter 619 Seizing the Pirate Warship. Looking at Qin Yu Hong's corpse, the 5 strong men were overcome with sorrow. With their highness dead, who would tell these loyal subordinates what to do next? Flee, flee, flee. The 5 men were physically imposing and mentally resilient, but simple-minded and foolish. They had no opinions of their own and simply followed their master's orders. They were hardly the kind of subordinates he would have been. Unfortunately, the current emperor Qi Sheng was too sympathetic. His harem contained hundreds of concubines, who gave birth to more than a dozen princesses and over 20 princes. However, the empress had only 2 daughters, no legitimate sons. The princes were ambitiously eyeing their father's position. Although the emperor's throne was hereditary, he held limited power, not least of which was the majority of military authority. Furthermore, each emperor's reign was limited to 40 years. Qin Yu Hong had hoped to recruit intelligent subordinates, but he was ranked 26th among the 28 princes, a 20-year age difference from his eldest brother. When he gained power and began recruiting talent, only these capable but incompetent individuals came to him. Though he wasn't entirely satisfied, a small morsel still counts, and with no other options, he accepted their surrender. He never foresaw that this would indirectly lead to his own death. A stab wound to the heart wasn't impossible to save. With a repair chamber, a knife could be inserted without drawing the sword, maintaining vital signs. Once he was taken to the hospital for a heart transplant, he could still be alive and well. Of course, the surgery and medical expenses were prohibitive, beyond the reach of ordinary families. But Qin Yu Hong was different. As a prince, even the emperor, despite his disfavor, would not stand by and watch him die. Had Qin Yu Hong known his fate would be so dire, he would have preferred not to have these loyal subordinates. Unfortunately, there are no ifs. He, obsessed with achieving great things, died in such a miserable state. Qin Yu Hong was dead, and the pirate fleet still held out, but it was gradually losing ground. The leaders of both pirate groups desperately begged their master for instructions on what to do next, whether to retreat. Sadly, no one answered them. With Qin Yu Hong dead, his subordinates were not independent-minded individuals. They were preoccupied with debating how to shirk responsibility or save their own lives, leaving them no time for other matters. With a combined pirate fleet on the verge of annihilation, The two leaders argued and finally surrendered. The Federation didn't have the death penalty, so surrendering would save their lives. They didn't care about the subsequent imprisonment in the Star Prison. After all, a good death was better than a miserable life. Besides, the Star Prison, no matter how strong it was built by humans. Who knows, if the Federation were annexed by the Empire, they would see the light of day again. The pirate warship's energy was running low, and the battle wasn't as fierce as it had been at the beginning. The pirate leaders didn't have the courage to engage in mecha combat. They knew they were no match for the three fleets they were facing, so they wisely decided to surrender. The pirates surrendered, raising a white flag. They agreed with the warship's commander to cease their attacks and offered to dock with the Federal warship, disarming themselves and standing at the ship's gate. The docking ship would send personnel to tie up the pirates and imprison them in its own chambers before sending pilots to take control of the pirate ships. These warships were the most valuable prizes, and the home fleet, the Phantom Rain fleet, immediately rushed to dock with them, hoping to reclaim the 20 remaining vessels. Having lost one or two in the previous battle, they were naturally anxious to recover. Knowing that their fleet was limited and that they wouldn't be able to capture many pirate ships, Yi Hongwen selected 4 high-end, new warships, led his men aboard, and tied up the pirates. He then sent his trainee pilots to take control of the ships. While the interns wouldn't be able to play a significant role in the battle, they were still able to navigate the ships back. The worst off were the mist-breaking fleet. They had no trainee pilots on board, and this was not their home turf. Even though they had captured 8 warships, they couldn't drive them back. The captain of Huanayu shamelessly boarded the mist-breaking fleet, wanting to steal their spoils. They were extremely anxious for a while. "Captain Yuan, this is not very kind of you." Lei Zhenai gritted his teeth and negotiated with Yuan Qingshan, the captain of the Huanayu. "We worked hard to come here to support the pirates in their attack on Milo Langsing. The spoils should belong to us," Yuan Qingshan said cheerfully. "Deputy Captain Lei is right. We are very grateful for your support. The base kitchen is already cooking supper. Brothers, please go down and fill your stomachs later." Yuan Qingshan would of course keep the friendship of friendly support in mind. After the pirates voluntarily surrendered, he ordered the base kitchen to speed up the preparation of more supper and make sure to entertain the brothers who came to support. However, you know the rules of the Federation. The spoils can only be brought back to the base by those who participated in the mission. No one else can be sent to collect them. Otherwise, it will be automatically handed over to the military. In this case, it would be better to give the battleship to us and then let Huanayu give Pao some compensation. Yuan Qingshan wasn't worried Lei Zhenai would refuse, as the Federation's rules were clear. If Pao didn't want to get nothing, they had to leave the warships to them. Of the pirate army's remaining 20 warships, Pao received 8, Shenai received 4, and Huanayu also received 8. However, the better warships went to Pao and Shenai. Yuan Qingshan, believing they would ultimately fall into Huanayu's hands, avoided competing with the 2 supporting fleets. Now it was time to collect the spoils. He planned to accept Pao's 8 warships before contacting Yi Hongwen. Yuan Qingshan was calculating, waiting for the gloomy Lei lieutenant to agree. Unexpectedly, Lei Zhenai's communicator chimed in. It was Shenai's captain, Yi Hongwen. As Lei Zhenai racked his brains for a solution and needed to buy time, he realized Shenai was likely facing the same predicament as Pao, without a pilot to man her warship, so he picked up the video call, hoping to see what the other party had in store. So, Yi Hongwen also joined their conversation. Yuan Qingshan was surprised that Yi Hongwen would video call Lei Zhenai, but he didn't feel panic. He had already considered the 12 warships as his own, so he took the initiative to say hello. "Captain Yi, you're here too. Thank you for your hard work today." "It's not hard," Yi Hongwen replied coldly, turning to look at Lei Zhenai. "Deputy Captain Lei, how about we discuss a deal?" Lei Zhenai was confused. Pao and Shenai had worked together many times and were very familiar with each other, but he still didn't understand. What did they need to trade? Chapter 620 Bargaining. He wasn't sure what the other party was talking about, but that didn't stop Lei Zhenai from agreeing. He eagerly responded, "Captain Yi, tell me what you want to trade." Yi Hongwen glanced at Yuan Qingshan, pondered for a moment, and decided it didn't matter if he overheard, so he spoke directly. "Captain Lei, you didn't bring any extra battleship pilots this time, did you?" Lei Zhenai was stunned. A short emergency rescue mission didn't require a replacement pilot, So of course they didn't bring any extra, otherwise Yuan Qingshan wouldn't have the chance to seize their spoils. We were in such a hurry this time, and we didn't need a spare pilot, so we really don't have any. Battleships may seem spacious, but the more weight they carry, the more energy they consume. For this emergency rescue mission, they could only use the faster ones. To keep more mecha operators and energy supplies, they didn't bring any extra pilots. Besides, pirates always know when to retreat when they encounter prey they can't catch. Unless their lair is discovered, they won't be able to retreat. Having seized the warship, Lin Miaomiao had intended to ask Yuan Qingshan for a few dozen pilots to return it to Shaoyin Star, but he hadn't expected Yuan Qingshan to take advantage of their prey's vulnerability. Ye Hongwen nodded. I know you probably didn't bring any, so I'd like to make a deal. I can send people to take the warships back for you. Lin Miaomiao was momentarily overjoyed, but then he calmed down. Since it was a deal, it certainly wouldn't be free. What's the price? 1 warship, Ye Hongwen stated. 8, I only want 1. Just then, Yuan Qingshan interrupted. Captain Yi, didn't you call someone over? Have you forgotten the military's rules? He had sensed Lin Miaomiao's hesitation. With the warship about to fall into Yuan Miaomiao's hands, a sudden threat appeared. How could he let Ye Hongwen have his way? I haven't forgotten, Ye Hongwen explained indifferently. Chen Yu has recruited quite a few pilots over the years, and they've been training for quite a while. Without resorting to artillery fire, getting the warship back to Shaoyin Star shouldn't be a problem. Yuan Qingshan's eyes widened, his mouth opening and closing for a long moment before he found his voice. You're bringing so many trainee pilots with you on this emergency support mission? How ridiculous. Ye Hongwen remained calm. With 2 fleets rushing in simultaneously, the pirates are no match for us. Bringing them along can be a good battlefield lesson. Although the battle today was short, we'll likely learn a lot. Yuan Qingshan was speechless. He knew the situation was broken, so he shook his head and strode away from Pao's main ship. Captain Yuan Qingshan was devastated. He had come with such high hopes, yet he had offended Lin Miaomiao and shattered the friendly relationship between Yuan Qingshan and Pao, only to be left without a single warship. Watching Yuan Qingshan disappear, Lin Miaomiao felt a surge of joy. He had arrived so cocky and proud, and left so dejected, it was a real relief. While it was satisfying, agreeing to Ye Hongwen's terms was too much of a loss, and he was privately unwilling to do so. You'll just help sail it back, won't it be too tiring? This price is a bit too high, isn't it? Lin Miaomiao said, pursing his lips. I can give you 100,000 credit points for your hard work. A warship was worth around 100 million credit points. And borrowing just a few dozen men for less than a day was indeed a bit expensive. Lin Miaomiao's reluctance was understandable, and Ye Hongwen had already prepared for it. However, these warships were confiscated from pirates, and if they weren't sailed back in time, the military would be happy to accept it. If Lin Miaomiao had been smart, he would have agreed to Ye Hongwen's proposal. Ye Hongwen wasn't greedy, but he didn't think his proposed deal was greedy, and he didn't like to haggle. Seeing Lin Miaomiao's reluctance, he didn't force it. He simply said goodbye and hung up the video call. Deputy Captain Lei, who was about to use his advanced bargaining skills, was stunned. He quickly opened the communicator and followed the video call. Captain Yi, why are you in such a hurry to hang up the video call? Our deal hasn't been finalized yet, Ye Hongwen said coldly. 1 battleship was a reward. If you agree, it's a deal, but battleships are valuable. It would be a big loss for us if you just sent someone to help drive them back and took one away. Lin Miaomiao tried to play the friendship card. Pao and Shen Yu have cooperated many times. They are at least brother fleets. Can't you understand that it's not easy for us? Those are pirate warships. Shen Yu only snatched 4. It wasn't easy for us either. Ye Hongwen was unmoved and still insisted. 1 battleship was a reward? Lin Miaomiao gritted his teeth. I know you think 200,000 credit points are too little. How about I add another 300,000? 1 battleship, give the reward in round numbers, 1 million. 1 battleship, 2 million, no more. Ye Hongwen looked at him expressionlessly and gently spit out 2 words, goodbye. Wait, don't hang up. It was too late to stop him. The call was disconnected again. Lin Miaomiao wiped his face and continued with a slightly exhausted look. This time, the call rang for a full half-minute before it was connected. Ye Hongwen asked impatiently, what else? Lin Miaomiao smiled wryly. Captain Yi, we can discuss things. Why are you hanging up all the time? I'm very busy. Why waste time if we can't reach a deal? Yi Hongwen said without a second thought. My terms won't change. If you agree, we can go back now. Captain Yi shrugged off Yuan Qingshan's insincere text message inviting him to a late-night snack. Shen Yu had plenty of food, and an extra late-night snack wouldn't put on much weight. But you know I'm only the deputy captain. I can't make the final decision on such an important matter. Can I ask the captain for instructions? Lei Zhenyu tried to make a final effort. The captain of power was a 7th-level mecha master, a bit older, and basically stayed at the base. Most missions were handled by his successor, Lei Zhenyu, but he would still be pulled out to act as a shield when encountering difficult situations. Everyone understood this, but the captain of Pau had participated in the last interstellar war and made great achievements. He was a true war hero. Whenever there was a dispute with Pau, everyone would give in more or less for his sake. Of course, selfish people like Yuan Qingshan were an exception. Lei Zhenyu mentioned their captain in order to make Yi Hongwen take a step back, but he didn't expect Captain Yi to be so calm. How about I talk to Captain Wei myself? Captain Wei didn't care about the fleet's affairs at all. How could Lei Zhenyu dare to agree? He laughed dryly and said, just report to our captain. It shouldn't be a big problem. There's no need to trouble Captain Yi. Yi Hongwen nodded casually. Then I'll wait for your good news. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 621, Bandits. Yi Hongwen had just returned to the captain's quarters after a quick visit to the pirate lockup. Less than 10 minutes later, he received good news from Lei Zhenyu. Captain Wei had agreed to send a warship to Shenyu. Our captain said, Po Wu and Shenyu have always been friendly, so sending a warship is only natural, Lei Zhenyu said, his heart aching. He managed to put on a cheerful and generous expression, though it felt a bit strange. The reward of a warship couldn't be changed, so he could only try to maximize his benefits, such as gaining Shenyu's favor. After all, Yi Hongwen was more reliable than Captain Huan Yu. Although their aid was ordered by the military, if Po Wu had delayed even a moment, the losses would have been even greater. After working so hard to help Mi Luolan escape from her predicament, Captain Huan Yu, stationed there, actually wanted to exploit their spoils. Shen Yu, on the other hand, as part of the same aid fleet, didn't owe Po Wu anything. While demanding a warship as a reward was a bit unfair, it wasn't a big deal. Thank you, Captain Wei, for your kindness, Yi Hongwen replied calmly. In reality, both of them knew exactly who made the decision, but they simply kept it a secret to avoid embarrassment when they met again. The terms of the deal were thus agreed upon, and Lei Zhenyu was quite satisfied with the outcome, especially since he had a hidden agenda. Yi Hongwen hadn't specified a single warship as reward. Upon returning to Origin Star, he planned to give the worst of the 8 to Shenyu. With a calculation in mind, fearing complications if the matter dragged on, Lei Zhenyu impatiently announced he was ending the call and wanted to go home quickly. Captain Yi remarked that the request was reasonable, and since Po Wu was Shenyu's employer, he readily agreed. After hanging up the call, Yi Hongwen assigned some trainee pilots to the pirate warships that Po Wu had taken over. He also instructed the trainee pilots to observe the damage levels of their ships and to select their rewards in advance. Neither fleet planned to land at Huan Yu's base for a late-night snack. Lei Zhenyu was displeased with Captain Huan Yu's exploitative behavior, while Yi Hongwen simply felt a late-night snack was worth it and didn't bother to delay his return. After they left, Huan Yu's captain, Yuan Qingshan, gnashed his teeth. He had hoped to use the late-night snack to mend fences with Lei Zhenyu, but he refused. Shenyu had only brought 4 warships to help, and had stolen at least 4 more, ruining their plans. Whether they came or not was irrelevant. The reinforcements had arrived at maximum speed due to the military blockade of the shipping lanes, but on their return, the shipping lanes had been restored, forcing them to return to their normal speed, which would have taken even longer. As dawn crept over the horizon, a mighty column of 26 warships burst through the atmosphere and entered Shaoyin Star, drawing countless onlookers from the outdoors. Shaoyin Star rarely saw so many warships deployed together, and seeing such a glimpse of activity made everyone crane their necks. The men on the warship, of course, Had no idea there were so many onlookers below. They'd first gone to Po Wu's base and delivered their spoils, not forgetting to take home a warship as a reward before departing. Captain Yi, Lei's Henaiyu said, a sour note etched in his teeth. He looked up at the pirate warship still hovering in the sky, his face wrinkled. Shouldn't we be the ones to pay the reward? Why had the Shen Yu's men just withheld the money, and even the best one? How rude. It's too late. The pilots have worked hard all night, and they deserve a break, Yi Hongwen deadpanned. Handing it off all over again is a hassle. It's better to save trouble this way. Lei's Henaiyu twitched his lips. He wasn't afraid of the hassle at all, he simply wanted to exchange one of the warships for Shen Yu, any of the other 7 would do. However, Yi Hongwen didn't even give him a chance to speak. All of Shen Yu's warships, except the main ship, remained in the air. After watching the trainee pilots return to the Shen Yu, he nodded at Lei's Henaiyu and headed back. After the Shen Yu took off, Deputy Captain Lei almost cried. These people from Shen Yu were really bandits. The captains of the Po Wu team who were watching were curious. Deputy Captain Lei, what's wrong with you? It's a good thing that Shen Yu picked a tattered warship to leave. Why do they have to choose again? Torn, Lei's Henaiyu was so angry that he almost vomited blood. The tattered warship you are talking about is the main ship of the mingling pirates. It's a super battleship that sells for no less than 200 million credit points. Lei's Henaiyu was about to beat his chest and stamp his feet. He regretted it. When agreeing to the transaction, he should have agreed on which warship to give away. Now, the warship with the strongest attack and defense was directly driven away by those scoundrels. The mist-breaking fleet, having lost the super battleship, was dejected, while the Shen Yu crew, having secured the prize, rejoiced. Liu Yifei was the proudest. If I hadn't recognized it as a super battleship, we would have missed it. As the lead ship, the super battleship possessed the highest defenses, though it suffered some significant exterior damage, which could be fixed with a fresh coat of paint. Despite its size, a fresh coat of paint wasn't cheap. It was undoubtedly thanks to Liu Yifei that they were able to steal the super battleship. He had the ambition to be a battleship pilot, but he lacked the talent to fly one, constantly drooling over the battleship models on the StarNet. It was precisely because of his frequent viewing that he was able to identify the super battleship. Yi Hongwen had even been so unkind as to deny the trainee pilot of the battleship a landing. So we have to change the main ship. Luo Cheng pretended to be reluctant. We have been on the Shenaiyu for 7 or 8 years, and it is really hard to change the dormitory. When Zixi said coldly, you can choose to stay on this ship forever. I believe the boss will agree to your sincere request. Yi Hongwen did not speak, but nodded in agreement with a cold face. Luo Cheng, with a face full of reluctance, turned his face in an instant. No, as the deputy captain of the fleet, I must always stand behind the boss to escort him. Come on, you are just one of the deputy captains, and a level 5 mecha master, Liu Yifei complained bluntly. With Deputy Captain Song and Deputy Captain Li here, you can just stay in your nest with peace of mind. Luo Cheng's face darkened. You two shut up, you just interrupt the commander when he is talking. How can you behave? The team leaders rolled their eyes together. He used his status to pressure others again. Can he still have a pleasant chat? The answer, of course, was no. They had already returned to base. Captain Yi announced on the spot, all members of this mission will have a day off. As for the higher-ups, they only got half a day's rest. They still had to deal with follow-up matters from the mission, such as the prisoners, who would be sent to the Star Prison. As long as they were pirates, no matter how many years or just a few days they had joined the pirate group, they would be treated equally. The Star Prison was their final destination for the rest of their lives. Chapter 622 Big Trouble. Captain Yi rested for the entire morning, cuddling his sweet fiancée. After lunch, he led his 3 lieutenants, 9 squadron leaders, and the captain of the navigation team, Zhao Cheng, to inspect the spoils of this mission, 5 warships. Although the senior officers couldn't yet use the 5 new warships, they couldn't contain their excitement and wanted to board them, under the pretext of seeing if there were any pirates who had escaped. Of course, they couldn't find any. When they took control of the pirate warships, Captain Yi had dispatched mecha pilots to inspect each ship in their mechas. Only after confirming that all the pirates had been abducted did they allow trainee pilots to board. The mecha pilots also remained in the cockpit as a precaution. The warships Shen Yu had taken over were undoubtedly flawless. Apart from the pirates' belongings, They only needed to be repaired, repainted, and branded with Shen Yu's special markings before they could be put into service. The only problem was the standard super battleship. Its combat system was locked with a code. Without breaking the code, they would only be able to use standard flight functions. "Let's have the technical department try," Yi Hongwen said. While waiting for the technicians, the 9 team captains went to explore the warship, and their visit led to a major problem. "Boss, bad news. Someone's dead." Even in informal settings, Liu Yifei and the others habitually called out to the boss, especially when deeply shocked. Yi Hongwen frowned as his veteran subordinates rushed into the cockpit like a whirlwind. Who's dead? Could there really be pirates on the warship who had evaded capture and attacked their men? The 9 team captains were acting together, and Liu Yifei, aside from a slight gasp from his haste, didn't seem to have encountered any danger. "We don't know who they were. We found them in the captain's cabin. There were 2 bodies." Yi Hongwen breathed a sigh of relief, knowing it wasn't one of his own. He said calmly, "They died in the captain's cabin, so they must be pirates. Send a medical examiner to examine the cause of death." If they were pirates, the cause of death was easy to explain. Regardless of the pirate group's surrender, the pirate leader, unwilling to enter the Star Prison, had chosen suicide. Upon taking control of the warship, the mecha operators used life detectors to check for any missing personnel, but they didn't open every room to search, so they naturally had no idea there were any dead bodies inside. To prevent any unidentified bodies from lurking on the warship, Yi Hongwen immediately ordered intelligent robots to clear every room and corner of the ship. However, before he could act, when Zixi, who had returned with Liu Yifei, launched a deep-sea torpedo. One of the deceased was a Federation undercover agent, another was an Imperial, and, if I'm not mistaken, a member of the Imperial family. Yi Hongwen's brows furrowed. "Zixi, do you understand what you're talking about? A member of the Imperial family died on a pirate ship, or on our spoils of war. If the deceased was indeed a member of the Imperial family, the cause of death wouldn't matter. What mattered was that he had met with disaster on Federation territory. If this news were to get out, it would likely cause a huge uproar, completely shattering the already shaky relationship between the Federation and the Empire. And a new round of interstellar war would be inevitable. Even if war was inevitable, Yi Hongwen hoped it would come later. After all, Shen Yu was still gathering strength and didn't have much to fight. Unfortunately, his hopes were doomed to fail. Members of the Imperial family were easily recognizable by a single, flat, snake-shaped mole on the palm of their left hand. According to the Imperial family, this dragon was a symbol of the descendants of Yan and Wang. They were pure Earthlings, descendants of the survivors of the long-fallen blue planet. The Imperial family had always considered themselves superior, hailing from a pure ancient bloodline. Yi Hongwen sneered. He acknowledged the Imperial family's Yan and Wang bloodline, as their black hair and black eyes were a defining characteristic. But 2/3 of the Federation's residents also had black hair and black eyes, sharing their ancient bloodline. Those with blonde hair and blue eyes, or brown hair and blue eyes, also hailed from Blue Planet, a magical and all-encompassing planet. Shaking his thoughts away, Yi Hongwen instructed Liu Yifei, after examining the cause of death, take him to the station infirmary. Once the technicians unlocked the battleship, immediately retrieved the surveillance footage. Captain Yi didn't think the Imperial Prince was anything special, but he wasn't about to let Shen Yu shoulder this burden alone. After instructing Liu Yifei to get to work, he video-called Lai's Henai and Yuan Qingshan. Yuan Qingshan was the first to speak. Still upset about the loss of face last night, he asked sullenly, "What's the matter?" Lai's Henai, however, looked slightly hopeful. "Captain Yi, are you planning to trade me for a battleship?" Even then, Lieutenant Lei still harbored hopes of reclaiming the super battleship. He'd been so envious since he'd first discovered the pirates' main battleships were superior to the Shroudbreaker that, after the pirates surrendered, he'd chosen the super battleship without a second thought. To this day, he didn't regret that choice, but he was frustrated that he hadn't agreed with Yi Hongwen on which ship would be his reward. Yi Hongwen could clearly discern what Vice Captain Lei was thinking, and he casually replied, "You're overthinking it." Lei's Henayu's face darkened, his expression instantly sour. He said with a stern, impatient expression, "What's going on? We haven't finished the mission yet, so I don't have time to chat with you." Yuan Qingshan, having already offended Po Wu, was now desperate. He said casually, "Captain Yi, get your message across. I don't have the time to waste with you." Yi Hongwen sneered, I found an undercover military agent and a member of the imperial family aboard the pirate ship. They're in the reward Po Wu sent us. Impossible, Lei Zhenai reflexively dismissed. Reward equals super battleship equals the flagship of the mingling pirates. When Po Wu took control of the ship, they sent mecha divisions inside to inspect it and found no abnormalities. Later, when Shen Yu's trainee pilot took the helm, someone from Shen Yu also conducted extensive inspections, but detected no life signatures. Now, the people who stole the ship suddenly claimed there was a member of the imperial family aboard. No one would believe it. Just found it. If Captain Lei doesn't believe me, you can come and see for yourself. I just found it in the captain's room. Yi Hongwen didn't bother to make excuses. He just wanted to speak with facts. After all, the mist-breaking base was also on Shaoyin Star, not far from here. Yi Hongwen had no need to lie. Lei Zhenai and Yuan Qingshan both believed him. However, the mecha had not detected any signs of life twice at that time, so they had a bad feeling. Alive? Yuan Qingshan asked with trembling thick lips. No, Yi Hongwen shook his head. Dead. Lei and Yuan both took a deep breath. What kind of world is this? A pirate warship in the federal area discovered the royal family of the empire, and they were dead. Such a thing did not seem like a good thing at all. Chapter 623 Autopsy. Hearing such earth-shattering news, and the speaker's expression so icy, both Lei and Yuan were devastated. Lei Zhenai's first reaction was to hope that the imperial family member wasn't particularly important, otherwise peace would be fleeting. Even if undercover reports suggested that the attack on Miralin was an imperial conspiracy, they had no solid evidence. Instead, with the death of a member of the imperial family, the empire could spin the story and claim it was a Federation assassination. Yuan Qingshan, on the other hand, was more selfish, already trying to shift the blame. For example, now, he stated righteously, we didn't use mechas in Miralin's attack. The imperial family member should have been fine until Vice Captain Lei sent a mecha team to take control of the ship. Lei Zhenai's face darkened. Because they were in the same corps, he had initially been reluctant to confront this ruthless individual, but he hadn't expected him to be so ruthless, throwing mud at him right out of the blue. Advanced warships, aside from flight mode, have intelligent password locks for all other systems. Without the password, brute force attacks could destroy the surveillance footage. When our fleet's mecha division arrived, the battleship was already dead. The surveillance footage shows it. The more angry Lei Zhenai became, the calmer he became. I'll take the ship's lead pilot to Shanghai. Yi Hongwen's video call had arrived just in time. Lei Zhenai was just about to lead his fleet to deliver the prisoners to the military headquarters to claim credit. Even now, he was standing at the ship's door. Having decided to go to Shanghai, Lei Zhenai didn't bother to say anything more and simply hung up. After he hung up, Yi Hongwen sneered at the other person. This trophy was obtained by aiding Huan Liu. Captain Yuan, you're wishful thinking if you want to distance yourself from the matter. If you don't want to shoulder the responsibility alone, you'd better come to Shaoyin Star. With that, Yi Hongwen immediately hung up. After contacting the two responsible fleets, Yi Hongwen said, go to the captain's room and check. Liu Yifei and Wen Zixi were devastated. Shouldn't they confirm something so important before contacting anyone else? The two lieutenants, seated in the main control seat, pretentiously examining the buttons, were speechless. 5 years into their service, they'd always felt that the icy-faced captain wasn't always entirely reliable. Well, the captain was always right, as long as he pleased. The captain's quarters weren't far from the cockpit. The 5 of them walked less than 100 meters and arrived. The fleet's specially assigned medical examiner had already arrived, examining the body in white gloves. The other captains formed a semicircle, watching. Because they were rarely needed, the fleet only had one medical examiner, usually hanging out in the infirmary. Everyone was thrilled when they saw him in action. The medical examiner's first subject was the undercover federal agent, a frail teenager. He carefully unbuttoned his tattered clothing and examined him closely with simple instruments for a long moment before declaring, the deceased is male, skeletal age 15. He suffers from numerous burns, whiplash, and sprains, both old and new, but mostly from years past. The face is well preserved. No fatal head wounds. There are extensive bruises on the chest, and a ruptured heart caused by a kick cannot be ruled out. The medical examiner said, gesturing at the chest with the X-ray machine. A blurry, slightly distorted image of a heart appeared on the palm-sized screen. He tried to remove the teenager's pants, but was unsuccessful due to rigor mortis. He looked up at the onlookers in frustration and shouted, "What are you standing there for? Why don't you come help? You bunch of idiots." The captain shoved each other, finally pushing out a dark, burly man. The dark, burly man was the captain of the 9th Squad, named Miaomiao. Despite his tall and muscular build, he possessed a simple and honest disposition, often being bullied by the other captains. Just now, for example, he wasn't angry at being pushed out, merely scratching his head anxiously. Seeing the medical examiner had no objections, he strode over to the corpse, squatted down, and with a swift, powerful tug, ripped the trousers in two. "Wow, that's a nice touch. You must have practiced that a lot," Liu Yifei exclaimed. GK, not far away, punched him. "No one thinks you're mute if you don't speak," Yi Hongwen glared at him coldly. Joking at this moment was disrespectful to the deceased. That imperial soldier was fine, but this young man was probably one of them. Liu Yifei's face grimaced. He was just being mean, forgetting that this wasn't the right time for jokes. He silently crouched in the corner, reflecting on his actions. The medical examiner was still concentrating on examining the body. He had already checked the back, which was even more horrific. In addition to the injuries mentioned earlier, there were also large areas of drag injuries. A certain private area was red and swollen, with tear marks and dried traces of unknown liquid. "Oh my god, this is too inhumane. He's still a minor." GK couldn't bear it anymore and turned her head to the side. When the rescue mission was issued, the military had already sent the information of the pirate union and photos of their own people to Yi Hongwen. It was because they were recognized that it was one of their own that everyone became even more angry. Not only were they angry that those shameless guys treated minors like this, but they were also angry that the military actually used a child as an undercover. He's only 15 years old. He should have been undercover for 2 or 3 years. Is there no one left in the Federation? Everyone was heartbroken. No, not 2 or 3 years ago. Some of his injuries are over a decade old. If I'm not mistaken, he must have grown up in a pirate den, the forensic doctor said in a low voice. The Federation subsequently sent a dozen or so young women to be captured by the mingling pirates. Most of them were exposed, but only the one captured initially survived and gave birth to a son. The forensic doctor didn't reveal the father of the child, but everyone could imagine that it was impossible for a young woman to remain innocent after entering a pirate den. She probably didn't even know the father of her child. However, the forensic doctor's words piqued everyone's interest. The identities of the undercover agents sent by the military were confidential, known only to the military intelligence department. If it weren't for the convenience of their operations and the fact that the undercover agents had already been deployed, the military wouldn't have transmitted the information and photos. So, how did the forensic doctor, who spent his days in the infirmary idling with Dr. G, know the identity of this young man? Actually, the forensic doctor came to them on his own initiative. For the fleet, having military doctors to treat illnesses was a given, but forensic doctors didn't need them. They weren't the courts. The forensic doctor in front of him had been forced to work for Yi Hongwen at the military headquarters. It was said that he was a bit old, 53 years old, and was being ostracized by his colleagues. He had gone to the military headquarters to relax, and seeing Captain Yi's integrity and reliability, he wanted to retire to Shanghai. Yi Hongwen flatly refused, but for some reason, the captain of the Central Corps had accepted the court's transfer application and sent him to Shanghai. Chapter 624 Autopsy. Everyone's thoughts drifted away because of an unreliable forensic doctor. Seeing that he wasn't feeling well, Song Changtai coughed lightly, breaking the silence and reminding them to get back to business. Suddenly, the forensic doctor's eyes lit up, and he looked at him eagerly. "Captain Song, are you coughing? Brother G and I have been learning how to treat coughs. How about I take a look?" Song Changtai's face darkened. "No, it's just a sore throat. No need to bother you, not to mention that he wasn't ill. Even if he was, he wouldn't let the forensic doctor see him." The mere thought of asking the forensic doctor to see him was heartbreaking. It had nothing to do with medical skills, it was purely a psychological problem. "It's okay. A cough isn't a big deal. There's no need to hide it," the forensic doctor replied. Despite the doctor's repeated assurances, Song Changtai insisted he wasn't ill and told him to focus on examining the body. The forensic doctor, disappointed that he hadn't found the guinea pig, returned his attention to the body and continued his examination. Before the young man could finish his inspection, the head of the network technology department came running over with a gloomy face. "Captain, the encryption scheme of this warship system is quite strange. A brute force attack would not only format the system but also cause an explosion. Then don't try. Go back," Yi Hongwen said casually. Lei Zhenai would bring the warship's former pilot over shortly. With him there, a brute force attack shouldn't be necessary. Surprisingly, Lei Zhenai arrived, but the warship's lead pilot had committed suicide. According to Mingling's third-in-command, the warship had been smuggled from the Empire, and only the lead pilot knew the system password. When did he commit suicide? Yi Hongwen frowned. The timing of the suicide was a bit too subtle, right when they were asking for the password. "Who said it wasn't?" Lei Zhenai said with a wry smile. If the surveillance footage couldn't be retrieved, Yuan Qingshan would undoubtedly continue to blame Po Wu. After all, it was their mecha that first boarded the warship. Lei Zhenai still held on to a glimmer of hope. "Is the password difficult to crack?" "Very difficult," Yi Hongwen pursed his lips. "The people in the technical department said there's a self-destruct system inside, and they can't crack it with their ability. If Pao has a network expert, why not call him over and give it a try?" Pao's network technicians were only average in ability. Even if they were called in, they wouldn't be able to solve the self-destruct system issue. At this point, the situation reached a stalemate. Liu Yifei raised his hand weakly. "Actually, we can ask Captain Gu to come for support. He shouldn't stand by and watch someone die." Captain Gu, Lei Zhenai was completely confused. He was a little panicked and couldn't remember which fleet's captain had the last name Gu. Yi Hongwen quickly realized, "You mean Gu Qingheng?" With his skills, it is indeed possible to crack such a password lock. With a direction, Captain Yi immediately sent a video call to Gu Qingheng, who was far away in Aoshi. Captain Gu, who rarely contacted him, became arrogant after hearing what happened. Usually, sending video calls to Miaomiao is like guarding against thieves, and now you have the nerve to ask me for help. "I asked, not begged," Yi Hongwen clarified seriously. "To me, asking and begging are almost the same." Gu Qingheng waved his hand. "I refuse. I don't know you well, why should I help you?" Yi Hongwen raised an eyebrow. "If you don't help, I will ask Miaomiao to block your number later." Gu Qingheng's gentle smile twisted. "Little Yi, why don't you just die?" After that, the video call was hung up. Yi Hongwen continued to watch the forensic autopsy without paying attention. Before he knew it, the boy's body had been examined. The forensic doctor concluded, the deceased's body had been stiff for a long time, but there was no sign of stinking or decay. The time of death was probably between 9 and 10 o'clock last night. The cause of death was massive bleeding due to a cardiovascular rupture, which was caused by a heavy kick to the chest. After examining the teenager, the forensic doctor turned to another body. This time the examination was shorter because the man did not have many injuries, only a dagger stuck in the chest. The deceased is a male, with a bone age of 20 years old. Except for the knife wound on the heart, there are no obvious scars on his body. The body is stiff and there is no sign of decay or odor. The time of death is probably between 9 and 10 o'clock last night. The cause of death is a dagger piercing the heart. Liu Yifei touched his chin in thought. They died at about the same time and in the same room. Could it be that they stabbed each other? Idiot. The boy was kicked to death. When Zixi felt that Liu Yifei's IQ was worrying. "With your IQ, I don't know if you can keep the position of captain. Stop talking nonsense." Liu Yifei glared at him. "I've been a team leader for almost 10 years. As Yi Hongwen's confidants, they were entrusted with important tasks after joining the fleet. He doesn't think he's stupid." "Shut up," Yi Hongwen said coldly. "I asked you to come here to do business, not to argue about these trivial matters. The most important thing is that there are outsiders here, and their childish behavior is really embarrassing for Shenyu." The funny captains fell silent, and everyone's attention was focused on the forensic doctor again. He packed up the small tools he carried with him, and used his white-gloved hands to pull out the dagger stuck in the young man's chest. "I'll go back and check the fingerprints to see if it's the result of the two killing each other," the forensic doctor said, and then took a rubbing of the young man's fingerprints. "I don't even need to check. The pirates don't have the courage to assassinate members of the Empire's royal family." Liu Yifei couldn't help but speak again. "It's hard to say, Yifei, don't make random guesses. Let's wait for Captain Gu to come and crack the code of the battleship." Luo Cheng covered his mouth and dragged him aside. "He didn't learn his lesson once or twice. Isn't he afraid that the boss will put him in the small dark room again? GK nodded in agreement. Captain Gu is so good, he will definitely be able to crack it. He can obviously make a living with his skills, but he chose to be a captain. How can others live? Everyone was complaining in their hearts, but their faces remained calm, which made Lin Miaomiao puzzled. Didn't Captain Gu refuse to help? It's okay. Didn't the captain convince him? Liu Yifei waved his hand to show that it didn't matter. Lin Miaomiao frowned. Was that persuasion? He thought it was a threat. Anyway, he was relieved to hear such words. Seeing that the people of Shenaiyu had so much confidence in Captain Gu, he must be a man with real ability. Captain Lei, Yi Hongwen said with a cold face, it will take you King Hang a day or two to get here from Aoshi. It's useless for you to stay here and wait, then I'll go back first. Lin Miaomiao didn't want to stay here any longer. He always felt that the people of Shenai were a little weird. He'd better not stay here and get in the way. Besides, he came to Shenaiyu in a hurry today. The matter of breaking the fog had not been dealt with yet, and those pirates should not have been sent to Zengaiyu. How could he have time to waste here? Yi Hongwen nodded and personally escorted him out of the captain's room. Captain Lei, take care. Chapter 625. Who is more shameless? Liu Yifei wasn't the only one shocked. The others were also somewhat taken aback. Renjiao glared at the onion feast on the table with a bitter, resentful look. Why all onions? Can't we have something else? Onions kill bacteria and prevent viruses. Eating more is good for your health, and it tastes good too, Lin Miaomiao explained seriously. Renjiao pouted. I think it's better for me to eat in the cafeteria. People in good health don't need to take antiviral measures. Let's go together, Liu Yifei suddenly thought. Onions are so sweet, 1 or 2 bites is fine, but he wouldn't be able to eat too much. With one person taking the lead, the others quickly followed suit, and everyone decided to head to the cafeteria. Lin Miaomiao was annoyed by the lack of respect from her friends. Captain Yi washed and cut the onions himself. Aren't you being too disrespectful? Yi Hongwen gave off a cold expression, indicating his anger, which would have been even more pronounced if everyone left. Actually, I quite like onions, Liu Yifei said, changing his mind instantly and quickly returning to his seat at the table. The others looked at each other and followed his steps helplessly. Compared to being bullied by the boss, they still felt that eating onions was easier. Dinner began, and Lin Miaomiao enthusiastically picked up dishes for everyone with a pair of clean chopsticks. If you like it, eat more. If there are too many dishes, it would be a waste if you don't eat them. As a soldier, waste is shameful, so Lin Miaomiao had to stuff all the onions into everyone's mouths to avoid leaving too much. Everyone was flattered. They didn't know what the cook was thinking. They all felt that their previous reaction was too inhumane. The host was sincerely treating them, but they were still picky. It was really heartless. Even those who didn't like eating onions ate a lot of onions. After everyone was full, they realized that the enthusiastic host hadn't eaten much. Even Captain Yi didn't eat much, and he immediately felt guilty. Miaomiao, eat by yourself, we are full, Fang Licken said gently. She looked at the empty plates on the table and felt quite guilty. I didn't even notice that you didn't eat much, and now there is no more food. Are you full? Lin Miaomiao asked. Do you want to eat something more? We are all full, everyone answered in unison. Yu Zixin wiped his tears and said, I never knew that the young cook was actually a good person. I used to think you were narrow-minded. Comrade Lin Miaomiao, who was awarded the good person card, said with a wooden face, forget about eating. I just remembered that there are still a few dishes in the kitchen that haven't been served. I was afraid that they would be too cold and not taste good, so I put them in the thermal box. In order to prove that she was telling the truth, she pulled Captain Yi up and went into the kitchen. Soon she brought out several dishes: stewed beef brisket with radish, steamed pork with rice flour, braised pork with preserved vegetables and roasted chicken with chestnuts. Everyone. She actually hid the good dishes and waited until everyone was full before serving them. Can she be more shameless? Lin Miaomiao's answer was, yes. Because she went back to the kitchen and brought out a small pot of yam and pork rib soup. It was simmered on low heat for the whole afternoon. The yam was simmered until it was soft, and the delicious flavor was integrated into the soup. One sip was full of fragrance. Liu Yifei made a dead fish eye, with a face full of despair. Little cook, how could you do this? Are you worthy of us? Lin Miaomiao was puzzled. Do I need to be worthy of you? Liu Yifei retreated, but Feng Liken leisurely picked up the bowl and filled herself with some pork rib soup. I didn't eat at noon. I have to make up for it in the evening. The whole table was silent. They had agreed to eat their fill, but this guy still had the nerve to go back on his word? But, well done. Feng Liken's words reminded everyone, and everyone said that although they were full, how could they not eat a bite of the dishes that the little cook had worked so hard to make? That would be too disrespectful. Everyone who had put down their chopsticks picked them up again, and Lin Miaomiao rolled her eyes. You are the real shameless ones. Ye Hongwen said nothing, and directly brought the steamed pork with rice flour to his fiancée and put a bowl of the other three. There were too many bandits, so they had to divide some of them in advance. Seeing this, Lin Miaomiao also reciprocated and put his favorite stewed beef brisket with radish in front of him, and picked up a few slices of braised pork for him, but did not touch the roasted chicken with chestnuts because he didn't like it. When they finished picking up the dishes, the bandits instantly snatched up the remaining 2 plates, and kept complaining after snatching them. The portion is too small, not enough to fill the gaps between our teeth. You can choose not to eat it, Lin Miaomiao said expressionlessly. Everyone laughed dryly. Haha, we just said that these dishes are better than onions. We should cook more of this next time. Gurgle gurgle. Feng Liken was still drinking soup and eating spare ribs. Lin Miaomiao finished her meal and was ready to have a bowl of soup. When she saw that there was only a little soup left in the pot, a few black lines appeared on her forehead. Liken, I remember that you used to be gentle and virtuous, but now you have learned to be abandoned like them. Feng Liken smiled gently. Didn't I leave some for you? How dare you say that? Lin Miaomiao had the urge to overturn the table. You drank 2/3 of it by yourself, and left some soup base for us. It's not bad to drink less soup before going to bed at night. Feng Liken finished the soup in the bowl, put down the bowl and got up to leave. I'm a little full after eating tonight. I'm going for a walk to digest the food. Take me with you. Yu Zixin immediately followed behind. The friends rushed to follow, leaving only a mess of cups and plates on the table. Lin Miaomiao sighed lightly. This group of bandits, they patted their butts and left after eating. I'd better not have any dinner parties in the future. They worked so hard and it was just a waste of money. It was purely asking for trouble. Yi Hongwen echoed, in the future, we can just eat by 2, there is no need to call them. The 2 reached a consensus and felt relieved, so they shared the remaining soup. After they finished cleaning up, they saw that it was still early, so they simply went out for a walk hand in hand. However, they had not walked far when their faces turned black. Men and women took turns blocking their way with coquettish gestures. Even the upright military uniforms could not hide their restlessness. Captain Yi, do you think I should destroy your face? Lin Miaomiao gritted her teeth. Even an ice face can attract bees and butterflies. You have brought so much hatred to me. Yi Hongwen was also unhappy. There are many men blocking your way. You should cover your face with a cloth before going out. Even with such a paralyzed face, so many men rushed towards her. Would she be more attractive if she smiled like a flower? Shouldn't he be glad that his fiancée's facial nerves were necrotic? Taking a walk or something like that really shouldn't appear in their lives. It would be better to go back to the dormitory quickly. Go back. It's better to take fewer holidays in the future to prevent everyone from being too idle, Captain Yi said coldly. Lin Miaomiao agreed with him. The fiancé happily decided to cancel this impulsive after-dinner walk and return to the dormitory hand in hand. The men and women who were posing and waiting to meet not far away were instantly upset. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.